Hello everybody and welcome back to the IMB World Series League's GT3 Championship here from Long Beach. We're nearing to the end of our season and it's only American tracks remaining on our calendar, Long Beach being the first of them before we head to Daytona and Sebring to round out our season. 5 more races, 3 more rounds, this one of course with a sprint race and a feature race a little bit later on as well. It's going to be very, very exciting indeed. It's one of the most tight and close quarters racing circuits out, certainly in the United States, possibly in the world as well. My name is Ewan O'Leary, alongside Zach Sweeney here for this evening, joining me on the west coast of America for what should be a fantastic race here, Zach. It's going to be really real sort of rough and tumble racing, if you like. There's going to be a lot of contact with walls as well, and a lot of action for us too.
Yeah, plenty of it. I'm sure the championship tensions obviously are going to add to that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how people get on here at Long Beach. It's fast, it's flowing, and obviously little margin for error. It is, in all fairness, very different, but also quite similar to where we were at Bathurst a week ago. They were really harsh with the latter portion of the season in terms of difficulty. But yeah, Long Beach, let's see what it has on offer. Is it going to be the good or the bad kind of exciting?
Or both, or the ugly, I guess, as well. We could see some ugly cars by the end of the day, certainly. You mentioned championship situations there. We'll go through those at the in between the two races as we're having a bit of a chat between a couple of the drivers. But I think it's worth noting, Zach, that especially in Pro and Pro-Am, this is an important race. This is the final time you'll be able to take your drop round. And especially in Pro-Am, it's a talking point because Lewis Boubier's drop round at the moment is 0 points. Ivo Linden is dropping more than 50 points from his score at the moment. So it is important there, but I think it's very crucial, I guess, that we've got this round, one of the most difficult rounds in terms of keeping your car on the straight and narrow. This does count for a drop round, so you can be saved. However, of course, if your drop round's already a 0, then it doesn't really matter. We're going to have to really play it by ear a little bit and see who's where with regards to that. But some people could get saved today, just a little bit, by having some poor rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people have sort of already got a decent drop round of a decent haul of points. So for them, it's actually not that bad of an idea just to, not really turn up today. I know a couple of people have just said, can't be bothered with Long Beach, too difficult. I might as well just not turn up, not embarrass myself, take the drop week and try and push on for the rest of the season. But if you've already got a decent drop week in hand, then there's not really that much pressure for you. But if you are in a position like Lewis Boubier, then obviously, yeah, you really do have to be on top of your game around here, really be as concentrated as possible. And in championship standings, as close as it is between the pros and the pro-ams, it is going to be very intense stuff, which around a circuit like this is probably not the place that you want to have people going at each other as hard as they probably are going to be here today.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen the incident, by the way, Zach, but there's a really famous one about 5 or 6 years ago between GT3s going 3 wide into the final corner. You can imagine how it ended. They all ended up in the wall, blocking the entire circuit, and almost nobody could get through on the final lap of the race. I'm not expecting to see quite that level of excitement here, or at least drama, catastrophe down into the final turn, but it is a talking point. It's possibly the tightest corner in world motorsport because effectively you're going down from, if you think about the actual road system of America for a second, which I know is something to get your head around, but you think about a sort of dual carriageway, if you like, from England, but you've got the 2 carriageways in the opposite direction separated, if you like. Not just a central reservation, but actually there's like grass in the middle of it and all sorts, like you would have on the motorway maybe, if a little bit. That's effectively what you get in towards the final corner here at Long Beach, the hairpin, which is almost like doing a U-turn on the motorway or a dual carriageway like that, which you'd obviously never do in live traffic, but that's what these guys have to do around here. Effectively, they're heading one way down the dual carriageway, having to turn around in a U-turn and then go through the other. And that doesn't sound like a daunting prospect, to be honest, Zach. In the road car, it's fine, but you've got to remember these are race cars with terrible turning circles, and they're going significantly faster than you would attempt to do this in your road car if you ever did do that.
Just rip the handbrake and power around it, if in doubt. I mean, they don't really have.
I don't think they have handbrakes, to be honest.
Yeah, they've got. I was about to say clutch kicker, but they can't even do that either.
E-brakes.
E-brakes, yeah, whatever it is in the US of A. But yeah, just handbrake turn it, simple as. I mean, absolutely. I mean, these guys have probably only got 180 degrees either way in terms of steer and lock, and it is very difficult to get it round and particularly when you're on the limit. If you turn, too early or too late, chances are you are going to find yourself maybe having to reverse back on, do a 3-point turn and bring it back on. Great practice for your driving test, but probably not great for winning a race around here. So we'll wait and see as to how that happens, because that has been time and time again. I remember watching an IMB race here on iRacing, whereby there was quite a big car park at that hairpin, and it caused quite a bit of calamity because people obviously aren't expecting it. They're coming through at decently high speed, having to slam on the brakes, and then obviously blind on the exit, can't really see much. You can see as to why that's going to be an issue. So yeah, it is all about precision, turning it at the right point, braking at the right point, making sure you're maintaining the correct speed all the way around. And there we go, nice little wave. Love that. Big smile on his face as well. I love to see it, but let's see if he's going to be smiling in around about an hour's time when he's really felt the brutality of Long Beach.
That's Jerome Rains, by the way, who's up there in the AM Championship with in the background what I could only describe as a lightsaber, but I don't know what it actually is. But anyway, this is Simon Dodd, who seems to be in a different location to normal, unless I'm completely losing my mind. Seems to have it seems like he's had loads of people over to sign their signatures in the background. I'm not sure they actually are signatures, are they? They might be drawing. They could be. They look like dogs. I think our producer's got a bigger screen than we have to see this. Certainly me, because whatever. But yeah, from this distance, it look like signatures. It might be more visible to you at home, but there he is at the moment. What's quite nice, he's got the curtains open, the daylight going in as well, which is nice to see. Exact opposite to Jerome Rains, actually, who was on that previous camera. He looks like he hates daylight. Looking at his self, he had absolutely none of it. Simon Dodd very happy to sit next to the window, which is sometimes a problem, Zach. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where the kind of glare from not necessarily the sun, because the sun's not really out in the UK today, but even when it's cloudy, you can sort of get this glare off of the screen. You can't really see where you're going, especially when it's light in sim as well.
Yeah, it's not great. I hate screen glare, even if I'm just trying to watch TV. That is a very close microphone. I would not be wanting to drive like that. Yeah, he's getting a good old taste of that one. Sem van Ruler ASMR, ladies and gents. That is very interesting. No wonder he's so loud when he jumps into the commentary booth. Wow. And then he's also sat really close to his sim as well. His arms are like quite up when he's grabbing the steering wheel. I don't know. Yeah, that's not really my comfortableness, but at least he's in the dark. I mean, typical sim racer style, I suppose, unless your name's Simon Dodd. But yeah, I don't know. How can you see over that? Look at he's having to tilt his chin up to look over it. That is bizarre. Yeah, all right, Sem van Ruler, you do you, mate. It's obviously working for him. The thing I'm most glad about is the fact that his wheel is turning the right way. That's all it is.
That is a positive. Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he's on pole, by the way, for this race. We'll go forward and see the grid in a few moments' time. But yeah, we're sat here criticising his setup. Don't want to too much. He is leading the championship there, and he is quicker than both of us, I would imagine. So yeah, it doesn't look like he'd quite be able to see below him very much when he's driving. But and everyone's comfortable in different driving positions, and that's all fine. But there we are. Clearly, I wouldn't be stepping into Sem van Ruler's rig anytime soon. Stuart Reynolds then is going to be on the pole position here at Long Beach, with Taylor Lake making his return alongside. Cardiel will be third ahead of Harry Wills, and Hakan Lindmo, who I don't believe set a time actually, will be lining up third. Louis Boubier will be on pole for Pro-Am. He's on the championship leading position at the moment, ahead of Timothy Vanderbroek, who's up there as well. Ivan van der Linden, second in the championship, third in this race. John Breitenbach will be fourth with Ashraf El Haddad, and Marcel Breitenbach lining up on the third row of the Pro-Am grid together. Thomas Pugh and Francois Perdrau will be on the next row, with Simon Dodd bringing up the rear there. Then it's Stjarman Sastamoinen and Carl Pearce on the front row here, ahead of Kurt van Hoornacker and Jerome Rains. Sem van Ruler down in fifth here in qualifying, ahead of Tony van der Linden, rounding out your grid. Sem van Ruler quite a long way back there, and that's the biggest surprise, I think, Zach, from that qualifying.
Well, quite a long way back in P5. So, yeah, I mean, he's not exactly got a long distance to fight his way back through. But, yeah, a very strange one. Whether he's just toying with this race a little bit, trying to have a bit of fun and fight his way through, we don't know. But, yeah, if that is genuinely his pace, that is not like Sem van Ruler. But then again, his pace in the race always seems to surpass that of what he's able to do in qualifying. So I still think we've got a race on our hands, but yeah, look out for Sam Van Ruler, because he's a crafty one, and if his wheel survives, I'm sure we're going to see him do quite well. But here come the pros, and well, first race of the evening.
Absolutely. Through the final corner come the pros, and they'll have to quickly get themselves sorted out once again before the line as well. Stuart Reynolds and Taylor Lane on the front row together, with Kai Diel and Harry Wills behind Hakan Lindmo, the sole Prestana Nomad representative, at the back. They're very slow running up towards the line, I've got to say. Reynolds keeping them all on tenterhooks, but he will now go. 25 minutes of racing at Long Beach unleashed towards turn number 1, and it is Stuart Reynolds who's taken the initiative in towards turn number 1. The BMW of Taylor Lane on the inside line for second place. They're all getting hounded into here. Harry Wills on the outside line. It's side by side between him and Kai Diel. They'll go into the fountain. Oh, and it's Diel who gets all out of shape. He goes offline a little bit. Harry Wills goes through as well. The pros, by the way, have gotten underway as well. At the moment, the pro-ams, excuse me, here they are. It's single file pretty much between Boubier, Vanderbroek, Linden and Breitenbach, although Marcel Breitenbach has gone off at turn 1. Not sure quite what's happened to him, but he has gone off and drops down the order here as the AMs also get underway. It's a big jump for Jarmo Sasta-Moinen, who's got Carl Pearce just behind him. It'll be single file mostly between these guys, with Sam Ruller, the only one looking to make a move. He goes to the inside at turn 1 and he's up to 4th place.
He is indeed not waiting around at all. Is Sam Van Ruler. He is flying his way through, and well, getting off to the race on the right foot through the fountain for the first time for these guys, all through nice and cleanly. So no major dramas amongst the AM guys, but a great start from Jarmo Sasta-Moinen, great start from Stuart Reynolds, and a great start from Lewis Boubier as well. Our pole position sitters have all managed to kickstart this race quite well. There is Harry Wills. Which side of Harry Wills have we got turning up today? At the moment, it's at P4, already 1.8 seconds off the back of Kai Diel. It is very much a hit and a miss circuit. You're either really good here or probably on the worser end of things.
Yeah, oh dear, Taylor Lane finding himself in the wall on the outside line there at turn number 1. Now he's got Kai Diel all over him. You'll have to excuse me on lap 1, by the way. I did confuse Harry Wills and Kai Diel. They're not all in the same livery as they usually are. We've got a few new ones on the grid for this round, so you'll have to forgive me for that one. But at the moment, Taylor Lane is really under pressure from Kai Diel, who's just behind. We're ripping round these laps very, very quickly, though, and Diel's going to have to try and find a way through. It's going to be very, very difficult, although a different line in towards turn 8 might just give him the chance into turn 9.
Potentially so. Bit of a straight run before they get to the next 90-degree right-hander. Is he close enough to go for the move? Kai Diel searching, no way through at the moment. So Taylor Lane able to hold station, but again, maybe the setup from the Lamborghini. Going wide, cutting back underneath him, shorter run through. Still nothing as of yet into the hairpin. You can see the line they're having to take very much out wide, and a great start there from Kai Diel. Puts his foot down. Again, it's just not quite enough, but you can tell he's the quicker of the two.
Yeah, down the straight they'll go, if we can call it that, around the bend, I suppose, and in towards turn 1. Diel forced to go to the outside line with Lane covering the inside, and he won't be able to go through. Lane very late on the brakes again, though, and he very nearly finds himself in the wall for the second lap in a row. It's side by side into the fountain. There's just nowhere for Diel to go, though, in that position. He could take advantage of Lane braking late in towards turn 1, but really, if you've got to run on the exit of that corner, where do you go?
Yeah, there's nowhere really to go. There's not that much space here, and that's been proved by the AMs. All of them so close together. This is incredible stuff, but obviously frustrating for Tony van der Linden all the way at the back of it. Sam Van Ruler picking his way through. He's now ahead of Carl Pearce and Johan Reins off the start. He's searching for a move versus Kurt van Hoenacker. That Porsche never really been too strong in a straight line, but in the hands of the Flying Dutchman, he's always found a way to wrestle it through. But he's got to be careful, because the longer he dwindles behind the Ferrari, the more time Jarmo Sasta-Moinen has to try and bridge the gap and try and get away from the championship leader.
Yeah, it's all very close in AM, actually. One of the best AM races we've seen early on, actually, here. I know we're only 5 minutes in, or not even that, but it's a good challenge at the moment. Sam Van Ruler not getting pole has really helped out the spectacle. Now he's going down the inside at turn 7. Oh, he might have grabbed the wall there, actually. As he looked down the inside of Kurt van Hoenacker, he might have even grabbed the wall. through turn 8 they will go as well, and along East Seaside Way towards the final few corners. Sam Van Ruler could be under pressure here. Carl Pierce looking down his inside in towards turn 9, and I just wonder whether that Porsche has got damage as a result of hitting the wall. They'll go side by side. Will the Porsche and the Ferrari? They'll remain so into 10 as well, and Pierce will have to tuck in. He won't go side by side into the hairpin, but I wonder whether Sam Van Ruler has got damage.
Oh, look at him recentering his wheel and everything. He's letting it go. He does not look like a happy bunny, let's put it that way. He's smiling, he's laughing, he's joking, but I do not think he's going to be too happy. Whether that Porsche's damage-stricken or whether it's some wheel issues coming into the player things, who knows. But yeah, the pace not looking too good. Carl Pierce trying to jump onto the opportunity through turn number 1. He is looking all right, so I don't think there's any major issues. He's not dropping entirely off, but maybe just a brief lapse of momentum potentially, and a lucky escape maybe for Sam Van Ruler. But, well, let's hope he's not getting too complacent. And with the leans as well, he's going to be compensating for any damage with those.
Oh, Harry Wills has been off at the final corner by the looks of things, but I did see on that home straight, by the way, I thought he was right hand down a little bit maybe. Through just from the onboard we saw there. It's hard to tell obviously from that angle because you can't really see his wheel, but we'll wait and find out. This is Lindmo versus Wills, and Wills getting back into and there's contact. That definitely is damage. A bit clumsy between the two, really. Wills goes spinning off into the fountain. This time certainly not his fault, and he's going to have to be careful not to get in the way of the Pro-Am leader who's coming through right now.
Yeah, he's going to stop, park it, and back he goes. Good stuff, I think. Or he's just going to stop there and wait. He's going to stop there and wait. So he's carrying on. Supposedly, everyone trickles their way through. Wow, getting off. That was wheel spinning, but really not travelling anywhere and not in a straight line at all. That is a misaligned wheel geometry if I've ever seen it. That was, yeah, not the easiest pill to swallow, I don't think, for Harry Wills. Taking Lindmo, I'm sure that is going to be had a look at by the stewards this evening or later on, whenever they get to inquire into the stewards' reports. But yeah, don't really know what to make of that. Just a clumsy incident at a very tricky race circuit. But that is a shame that for Harry Wills it's ended in such a way that saw him crash once and then spin and then get caught up in other people's stuff and then have to nurse all the way back as well for some damage. But then again, with the shorter pro field, if he can get to the halfway mark, he's getting points for P5, which is, at the end of the day, better than nothing.
And he would start on the first position for the next race as well, and that goes for any class, by the way. If you finish within 50%, you will be on pole. Well, you'll be part of the reverse grid, we'll put it that way. Obviously, it depends where you finish, whether you'll be on pole or not. Here's the battle for third place between John Breitenbach and Ashraf El Haddad, the only Lamborghini in an otherwise BMW Pro-Am field. And he's really applying the pressure to Breitenbach at the moment, allowing the front three to get away for now. But we're starting to settle into this race, really. First quarter of it done, just more than that, about a third actually. And we're starting to see the problems, I guess, presented by Long Beach. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake on.
Yeah, which is obviously to be expected. We were touching on it, obviously, how difficult it is to drive, and yeah, by extension, how difficult it is to overtake. The best bet really is into turn number 1 off the back of a very long flat out section, but beyond that it's a short run into a 90-degree corner, which not really the best ways to get moves done. The hairpin probably not the best way through, as Harry Wills understandably into the pit lane. But yeah, it is tricky to overtake. It's tight, you don't really want to throw everything onto the line, so I think people are just waiting for that opportunity into this corner. KDL closing the gap, but even there, not quite close enough through the left-hander to really mount a move. It is just a case, I think, of sitting, waiting and capitalising on any mistakes that come your way.
Looks like it, and that's going to be could be a very long game for some of these drivers. Taylor Lane still in front of KDL, and he has been for the first third of this race now, but with every lap that ticks by, DL looks more threatening on the back of that BMW. It's more tall than wide, really, but Lane making it wide at the moment. Through turn 8 they will go. Let's have a quick look back at earlier on in the race and what happened to Marcel Breitenbach, because we commented that he dropped down from mid-pack here to the back of the field, and he got up on that curb, spun around on his own. That was a rather bizarre spin, and he did get into the wall quite heavily as well.
It was quite late after the touch of the curb as well, as Cardiel tries to squeeze
Oh
his
my
way through on the
goodness.
inside. Tap of the wall on the outside as well from Taylor Lane for good measure. Not entirely sure Cardiel there. I mean, obviously he's on the inside, a much more tighter angle of the corner to take. You have to crank on a lot more steering lock and go a lot slower. But he really didn't move off the exit, maybe relinquishing the place to Taylor Lane, who around the outside again. With how tight that corner is, you can't really do much there, and a tap of the wall, bit of an awkward affair for both involved. So carrying on, still second and third as they were, but yeah, we did catch the tail end of it, so obviously we don't get the full picture as to what happened, but that honestly just looked like really awkward. I don't really know how to call that, but yeah, they've done it, and as we predicted, the hairpin is causing a bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's not unpredictable from that hairpin, to be fair, to see that. Unfortunately, it's just a general thing that happens, really, and also it's a mark of just how difficult it will be to go side by side through there, I suppose. Carl Pierce has gotten through on Semba Rula here. It's Esteban Hadana serving a slowdown, I think, coming out of turn 6, and that is fairly common, really. But he'll be disappointed to lose that top 5 position to Thomas Pugh, who will go through. Francois Peugeot not far behind. There's the battle with Semba Rula and Carl Pierce, though, and Pierce looks like he's been in the wall now. On the left-hand side, you can see a bit more of the rear left that exposed than maybe you should be able to. Not sure where he would have been able to pick that up, really. But there's certainly a battle going on for third, and ever since Van Rula hit that wall, he's not quite been the same since.
Not at all. His pace has really dropped off, so maybe nursing just that little bit of damage. It could just be driving ever so slightly with the steering wheel out of alignment. You can see there actually, and now he's got the wheel straight. He has got a bit of damage. I think it might just be the angle, but it does look like he is nursing a little bit with the wheel being slightly out of alignment in terms of one of the tyres towing more out than they're supposed to, but I don't know, it might just be angles. It does look like there is a slight bit of damage, and you wouldn't be stupid for thinking it. And you can see actually how difficult the hairpin is with how Sem van Rula has to grab the top of his steering wheel to crank on the lock to actually get the car turned. All of these cars are struggling, and as soon as you get a little bit of damage, it just exaggerates the problem almost exponentially.
And here we go again. Carl Pierce looking to the inside at turn 1. He's not going to be brave enough to go down the inside here. Van Rula very late on the brakes and possibly aided by the slightly lower top speed he might have by this point. The fact that he is slowing from a lower speed might just help him in towards turn 1, brake later. And that might just give him the opportunity to hold on. Oh my word, he was close to the wall again there. Just out of the fountain section, Pierce makes his own slide a little bit. There he is at the top right hand side of your screen. We can see them both now concentrating greatly to try and get through on one another. It's pretty important for the championship as well. Carl Pierce is in second in the AM driver standings. He's about 38 points behind Sem van Rula, and so any gap closing is going to help. He needs this position, really.
He does. He needs to, not lose any points to Sem van Rula for the remainder of this season, and even there, he is banking on a miracle. He is banking on Van Rula's wheel just giving up and forcing him to lose yet another big haul of points. But every little helps, and putting some pressure on here, forcing Sem on a bit of a tighter line. Now they put their foot down. The BMW really is struggling quite a lot on the exit of the hairpin. We saw it earlier with Taylor Lane tap in the end, maybe a bit of wheel spin. Who knows what's going on with that BMW, but it does not look pretty to drive at all. Sem van Rula able to hang on once more, and Carl Pierce, he looks slightly more composed, he looks chilled, he looks quicker. But again, with Long Beach, there's just absolutely no way through.
Absolutely no way through. Past the halfway mark now in this race. Van Rula's pushing this one quite hard. You can see how close he's getting to the walls. He is not holding back here, but still being caught by Pierce. And initially, your own range was there as well, but he's made a mistake of his own, and so is starting to struggle now. Carl Pierce once again looks to the inside. Van Rula is not put off by this, although he does go a little bit deep in towards turn 7. Now Pierce is close. Will he have a look in towards 8? He's to the inside line, and Van Rula goes deep. Very deep as well. He's misjudged it catastrophically. He knows it. He puts his head to his hands. Carl Pierce smiles. He can't resist a smile right now, and he's through up into third place.
Beautiful stuff. Great capitalization, great opportunistic moves there shown from Pierce, and he was delighted with that. Up now onto the podium, and well, now he's just not got to bottle it. Sem van Rula, that's going to knock his confidence ever so slightly, but well, he's better than being completely out of the race in its entirety. He's still got the gap. He's still scoring some points. And the gap between third and fourth in terms of points all in a race one is not at all that meaningful to Sam Van Ruler. He's still going to feel quite secure in terms of his championship lead. But here we go, Taylor Lane versus Kai Dial. This battle is still raging on, and two very different lines, it must be said, through that 90-degree right hand at the back end of the straight. One of them carrying more speed through, one of them carrying less speed through, one of them going quite wide and the other staying quite narrow to open up the next one. Has equated in sort of the same amount of lap time. Kai Dial with the slipstream has that Lamborghini, got the straight line speed, shortest run as possible across the line in towards turn number one, and here goes Taylor Lane trying to defend that second place.
He's typically deep in towards turn one though, and we'll see if DL can play on that a little bit. Not quite. Lane pulled it up in time actually on that occasion. DL knew that he wasn't as alongside enough to have it going towards the fountain, and so had to back out of it in the end. And the battle for second will continue. They're a long way behind Reynolds, and they're only getting further behind. They've got the pace to hold off Lindmo. Wills has just exited the pit lane again to get enough laps for points and to get the reverse grid pole as well. It really is between these two for second place, and no one is going to interrupt them.
Absolutely not. They are, well, 13 seconds off the fight for lead, 8 seconds ahead of Lindmo. This is their ground, their fight, their turf, and who's going to come out on top? Taylor Lane able to hang on, but Kai Dial looks absolutely menacing. Look at how much later Taylor Lane brakes, and look at the speed he carries through, and look at the differences in terms of the next left-hander and how Kai Dial looks very eager to find a way through sooner rather than later. In towards the hairpin though, and once again the up and under for the Lamborghini. That might exactly be what he needs. A bit of a tap on the wall from the BMW. As long as Kai Dial doesn't get stalled behind the BMW, he should, in theory, find his way past Taylor Lane. Once again, a drag fight all the way towards turn number one. Is Lane going to go defensive? He pulls that BMW to the left-hand side, and now it's a straight fight because Kai Dial pulls out, outside line, late braking for turn number one. He's not quite been able to find a way through, but a good effort, I suppose, more than anything.
Did he grab the tyre wall there? I'm not entirely sure if he did or not, because we couldn't quite see. However, he did commit a little bit more that time. DL realises we're in the final 10 minutes of this one, and if he's going to do it at all, he's going to have to do it soon. And now maybe the chance. Taylor Lane makes a bit of a mistake, and DL knows this has to be seized in towards turn 7. Very late on the brakes from Lane. He'll push him right out to the concrete and the outside line. DL still has the inside though for 8, which could be crucial. He dives into the corner. He uses the exit. He has second place as well. Lane might well come back at him to turn 9, but no chance. Kai Dial has finally got through. He's had that mistake that he was waiting for so long.
That's what he needed, and as soon as it came, he didn't wait around. He didn't hesitate. He went for it straight away and finds himself now in second. The job at hand is to not let Taylor Lane get back through. Don't make any mistakes and, well, get good exits exactly like that. Kai Dial doing everything he needs to do in order to retain that second place. Just under 8 minutes left to go in race number one, and Kai Dial is stretching the advantage and is getting himself up in a second place. If he can hang on into turn number one, I don't really see much more of a competition, and Taylor Lane might well drop back. The fight in the Pro-Ams though, Thomas Pugh and Ashraf El Haddad fighting over a 5th place. The Pro-Ams have kept quite close, but, well, this is the only battle that is quite close enough to really see anything start to happen.
Yeah, Pro-Am has been pretty spaced out so far in this race, really. Lewis Bouvier and, well, even Lewis Bouvier's actually got through on Hacken Lindmo, actually, but that's pretty irrelevant. Timothy Vanderbroek not quite close enough, and even Van der Linden, the same story as well, so this is really where you're likely to see moves, if any at all. Sam Van Ruler still in front of your own reins and still struggling as well. That's an important one for the championship once again, but it's clearly off colour at the moment, Sam Van Ruler. We could say that, or it could be down to pace. I'm not sure if you remember, Zach, but I've got a recollection of Sam Van Ruler saying he doesn't really like Long Beach very much. But maybe that's why he's struggling so much. It's not really down to the damage at all.
Maybe he just, has a bit of a skill issue for Sam Van Ruler for once. It's nice to see. It's a breath of fresh air, to be fair, and I think the fact that we did just assume it was issues goes to show how good of a driver Sam Van Ruler has been for the entirety of the season. It might just well be that he is a little bit on the slower end today, which happens as a driver. You always are going to have that one circuit that is just that pain in the backside to get used to, one that you can't really get into a rhythm to, but he's managing it well. He's limiting the damage as best he can, and, well, if he is nursing a bit of damage as well, making life just that little bit worse for him, he's not doing too bad, not letting it phase him too much. But yeah, I do also have the recollection of him not looking forward to today, but at least he's turned up, at least he's here trying to score some points, which I think he's forced to. Is, well, who's that?
Oh.
Is that Carl Pierce having a bit of an issue, or is that Harry Wills?
I think it might be Wills getting out of the way of everybody here, which in which case would be fine. Oh, it's a bit of a... Oh, it's Simon Dodd, maybe, who's in Pro-Am and maybe struggling. He will have let Marcel Brayton back through as a result and will be down the positions. He will be on pole for the second race in Pro-Am, though, if he carries on as he is. But anyway, that was a slightly bizarre one. Looking at the two drivers there on the right-hand side, as you just saw. Interesting to note the different wheels that they have here, Zach. Your own range with a more circular one, which I would imagine is a little bit easier to grab through that final corner as opposed to Sembrun Rulers, which I think is more of a sort of rectangular shape, a little bit less used to twisting that one around for a real big turning circle, as you have to do down at turn 11.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've used both the circular one and the more Formula style one, and it does depend on what you're driving. If you've got something that requires a much more of a turning circle, so a normal road car, for example, you want to have a more circular based one. You can grab the top of it, you can bring it round, you can use a lot more of the reel to get the turning done. Whereas with a Formula rim, like we see with Sam Van Ruler, the grips are the side of the wheel. There's nowhere else really to quite comfortably, turn it. You've then got to take your thumbs out of the grips, then move them and then put them back in. It is just a bit more fussy, a bit more awkward to get it done. So yeah, in terms of more crank and lock, it is very difficult for Sem, I think, relative to Carl Pierce. Here is Simon Dodd, though. What's happened to him? He keeps racing car, and once again, just a tap on the curb unsettles the car, and around he goes.
Yep, and he's backed it into the wall as well on his way in there, and now he can't turn around very easily, which is a bit of a problem for him. He's now embedded within... Is that Harry Wills with no rear wing? I swear I saw someone with no rear wing there. There was what I could only describe as a bold Mercedes. It looked a bit too sleek, I guess, on the rear end without a rear wing. Harry Wills has indeed lost his rear wing. He's back to pit lane now, and I do slightly worry about him completing enough laps now. He's only done 8. We're on lap 17. He will start from the back of the pro field as it stands, and he's not going to make laps back here. Zach, he'll be starting from 5th and last position, partly as a result of this incident we're about to have a look at here in a couple of moments' time with Harry Wills. Here it is. He's already got no rear wing. This is exceptionally bizarre.
Yeah, the brackets are still there, but the wing isn't, and he's just got absolutely no downforce. Looks great up until the point that it doesn't, and then smashes himself into the barrier and brings an end to race number 1. He's start at the back and score absolutely no points for this race as well. So Harry Wills, there's definitely better ways this race could have gone for him, but that's Long Beach. That's what we expected. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that we've only seen it to one driver.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame for Harry Wills, certainly, and all those who've ended up down on the pit lane. This battle inside the top 10 overall, and for 4th place in the Pro-Ams is getting pretty heated now, as Ashro Haddad really hounds Thomas Pugh here for 5th place, especially with just about 2.5 minutes remaining. I think there's going to be 3 laps to go, though, because of where Stuart Reynolds is and the fact that he's so far in front of the rest of the field. You can imagine that on such a short circuit, throughout a race double this length of this one, traffic is going to be a real problem. And traffic for Stuart Reynolds, or whoever's leading that is going to have a real difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. It is difficult to overtake, and it's not a case that you've got everyone around you. This is exactly as to why Harry Wills lost his rear wing. Car was unsettled, rear end went backwards into a barrier, and I'm guessing it just snagged it off. Well, that's physics somewhere. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's how we lost a rear wing. But yeah, in terms of traffic, Stuart Reynolds is going to have a very difficult time because it's not a case that you're in a prototype versus a GT car where you just put your foot down and drive past them. You do have to think a little bit more carefully when you're in the same class, and hopefully people will be a bit more courteous and obviously lift off and allow them through and not put up too much of a fight. But yeah, if you're catching at the worst end of the circuit and you're significantly quicker, it could very much throw a spanner into the work. There is Haken Lindmo having a spin, and well, back to the pit lane for him.
And it's side by side now between Breitenbach and Thomas Pugh, who's got down the inside, although he's very tentative in towards turn 9. Probably aware of that tyre wall on the outside that's going to creep up on them. Side by side, they'll go into the final sector. He also knows that there's no real point trying that at the moment because they'll end up at the hairpin very quickly. He won't be able to do it anyway. Breitenbach goes very much into the wall on the outside line. And then Pugh almost had to slow up to a stop to avoid him. Ashraf El Haddad can only sit there and watch as well. And now they've 3 of them are covered by a blanket towards turn 1. Here comes Ashraf El Haddad, maybe in the Lamborghini. Looks to the inside. They're all weaving around. El Haddad decides not to go down the inside. If ever there was a chance, I would have thought that would have been it.
Absolutely, you've got to take the opportunities as they come, but 3-car fights like this are always more on the sketchy side than anything. But yeah, an opportunity missed maybe, particularly in the dying stages of this race, because actually, are we going to get one more? Stuart Reynolds put one of a lap, but we've got 13 seconds. Maybe we might just get one more. That is close timing, but yeah, well, it is down to the wire. Yeah, we are going to get one more. The white flag is being waved just as Stuart Reynolds starts his final lap.
He's been setting fastest lap of everybody on each lap for almost all of the laps so far. 23 seconds is the margin in a 25-minute race. A quite astonishing record and an average of more than a second a lap taken out of everybody else. It's been a dominant display from Stuart Reynolds on a day where he can gain and make big strides on Chris Chatterton in the championship. Chatterton's only going to gain 36 points today because he's not here, and that's his lowest score so far, so 36, and already Stuart Reynolds is going to score 25 from this. So, as bizarre as this sounds, he only needs to finish in the top 15 in Pro to overtake him in the championship. Obviously, he will do that as long as he finishes the race, and so or completes more than 50%. So that will be the aim for Stuart Reynolds in the second half of this race. As most of the Pro drivers, in fact, come into the pit lane here in this race, Kaidiel, Hakan Lindmo and Harry Wills, Stuart Reynolds has had no such problems. He is the championship leader coming into today, and he probably will be coming out of it. Sorry, second place in the championship today. Coming out of it, he probably will be championship leader. Out of the final corner here at Long Beach, and he will win race 1 with a weave over the line, unchallenged from start to finish. Stuart Reynolds wins by nearly half a minute.
Wow, in a 25-minute race, that is astonishing. Huge stuff from Stuart Reynolds, and it's onwards and upwards from here in terms of his championship fight. Here is Lewis Boubier, though. What a race it's been from him. Managed the gap to Van der Broek as best he can. Good strides in the championship from the driver that very narrowly missed out in the Pro-Am field. There he is, just in behind Taylor Lane. What a race from the Pro-Am victor.
There go the podium in the Pro-Ams, and here they come to the line. Thomas Pugh and Jim Breitenbach for 4th place. It's going to be Breitenbach just about by about half a car length, then Pugh, then Ashraf El Haddad, and then in Am we've got a battle indeed behind as Kurt Van Hoornacker holds off Carl Pearce, but that's all behind Jarmo Sestermoinen, who looks like he's going to take the win here for the Audi in Am. Zemban Ruller way down in 4th place. Tremendously off colour here this evening by the looks of things. Jarmo Sestermoinen has stepped into the void and taken the opportunity. He'll win the race. Who's going to finish second? Kurt Van Hoornacker is going side by side with Carl Pearce, who just misses out. It's Van Hoornacker ahead of Pearce. Then what about Zemban Ruller and Jeroen Reins? Important stuff in the championship. It's Zemban Ruller 4th ahead of Jeroen Reins and Tony van der Linden, who was ended up being a lap down actually to the overall leader. But what a race that was. Just over 25 minutes of racing, and very, very important battles as well as we get towards the end of another season of the IMB World Series League's GT3 Championship, Season 5, which of course this is. Let's take a look at the results after 25 minutes of racing. It was Stuart Reynolds to take a commanding win ahead of Taylor Lane. Kaidiel came in on the penultimate lap and decided there wasn't any need to go out again. Hakan Lindmo crashed on the 3rd last lap. He is 2 laps down. Harry Wills will drop from the back as he didn't complete more than 50% of the race distance here today. The only driver to fail to do so. Pro-Am victory went to Lewis Boubier, who extends his championship lead. Timothy van der Broek and Ivo van der Linden battled it out to the line. John Breitenbach just held off Thomas Pugh for 4th. Then Ashraf El Haddad came in 6th. Francois Pedro was on his own in 7th. Then Marcel Breitenbach after that issue in lap 1. Simon Dodd did just about complete enough laps to start on pole for race 2. In the AM standings, it's Joma Sestermoinen who takes the win by 3 seconds ahead of Kurt Van Hoornacker. Carl Pearce battled him all the way to the line. Sven van Ruller was hounded by Jeroen Reigns all the way to the line as well. Tony van der Linden will start on pole with Connor Kinnaird in the 7th position. Never actually took to the track on this particular first race. Hopefully he will for the second one. An interesting race there, Zach, I've got to say. A new championship leader in the form of Stuart Reynolds, and the best possible start for him, really. He knows that if he completes more than 50% of race 2, he'll be the new championship leader by quite some distance, actually.
Yeah, wow, that is awesome stuff. And Chris Chatterton obviously was looking in the Discord as to why he didn't turn up, and it was just a case of it's Long Beach. He was one of those drivers that didn't really want to deal with things. And unfortunately, his drop week might not cut it relative to Stuart Reynolds, who I guess it's probably the poorest time for Chris Chatterton to, take a drop week, because Stuart Reynolds is one of those days where he has really turned up and he is bringing the heat. And I would not be surprised if we see a similar display in race 2. Obviously, that means he has to dart his way through the other 4 cars around him to get his way back up into the race leads. But if he has no issues there, I think it's going to be a runaway. So look into the other categories for a bit of a fight.
Let's have a look at the Pro Championship standings before we go any further. We can dive a little bit deeper into these Pro standings as we've got them up here. Chris Chatterton has 8 points coming into today on Reynolds. Then Lindmo in 3rd. John Williams is in 4th out of Kai Diel, who is here today. As is Taylor Lane, as is Harry Wills. Jason Dilworth, Lucas Romano and Janis Trout not here, and neither are any of those below that, and they're out of championship contention anyway. By the way, you need to be within 130 points of a championship leader to be in contention. What do you think about Hakan Lindmo here, though? He's in 39 points behind Chris Chatterton. I think he does need a pretty big round here today to stay in contention, otherwise it is going to become a 2-horse race in those final 2 rounds.
It is indeed. Hakan Lindmo, in all fairness, not really a driver I was about to say not really paid much attention to. That sounds horrible. I meant more so in terms of the championship fight. It's been more Chatterton and Reynolds. But he is there. Realistically, he still has got a decent shout if all things go well for him, particularly if Reynolds has a couple of poor rounds in the final 2 of the season. Who knows what Hakan Lindmo can do? All he has to do is just stay consistent, keep doing what he's doing, maximize the points all, and make the most of any opportunities that come his way. It's not necessarily a straight fight. He's not, up there in the sense that with Chatterton and Reynolds, where an overtake here or there could be the difference of the championship lead. But he's a thought in the back of the minds of the top 2, in the sense that, maybe he could spring a couple of surprises come the 10th round of the season.
Let's go to the Pro-Am Drivers' Championship now, where Louis Boubier is leading the championship standings and has extended his championship lead as well as a result of the last round. So coming into today, he had 5 points. Now he's got 8 over Ivo van der Linden. Dean Timms is still there or thereabouts, but he's not here today. John Breitenbach is 4th, ahead of Thomas Pugh. Timothy Vanderbroek 6th place, needs a pretty big day today, but did just finish 2nd. Francois Perdreau just finished where he is in the championship, 7th place. Marcel Breitenbach 8th, then of Stuart Wyers, then Chris Thacker, and then Simon Dodge is 13th. Asher Haddad 16th of the drivers who are here today. Only 5 points coming in today, now 8. You've got to say that even at this stage, Linden may not, or may need to beat Boubier here over the next race, because while it's quite close, you don't actually gain very many points per position in this championship.
You don't. So yeah, you've got to try and get a decent gap. Sven van Ruler, well, that is him ruling the championship. We've not said it for a while, so I had to throw it in there. Look at that. It is astonishing. 38 points clear of Carl Pearce coming into today. It's madness. The only thing that can stop him is himself.
Here he is, yep. It's 38 points coming into today ahead of Carl Pearce, who did just gain points on him. Jeroen Reigns did not. But even Carl Pearce gaining points there, I think only gained 1, maybe 2. But anyway, it wasn't very many. Joma Sestermoinen just won the race, and he's still lurking. They're in 4th. James Slate's 5th ahead of Matthias de Groot. Then it's Kurt Van Hoornacker. And of those who are here today, I think Tony van der Linden is the only other one. And he's down in 13th position, which is quite a long way down here at the moment. Let's have a quick chat to some of the drivers then after that round. Starting with Louis Boubier, who is the Pro-Am winner from that opening round. Louis, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. Lights to flag victory for you in the end. Just what is the key to winning around here at Long Beach? Is it as simple as it looks?
It's not simple at all. I think getting pole position was a big part of that. Managed to open a gap on the first lap and just sort of held that for the race. I think also conveniently somehow underfueling the car by accident helped because I had to drive a lot more, well, within my limit. I had to drive about 90%, so not pushing right up to the walls, so less likely to have an incident and ruin everything. So that helped, I think.
I think you're right, by the way, the track position and whatever, but you are going to be starting 9th and last in Pro-Am in this round, so the opposite of track position is what you'll have. How do you see it going?
I just want to keep it clean. I think the drivers who, like Timothy and Ivo, will also be looking to keep it clean, and I don't mind finishing behind them. I think I've opened a little bit more of a gap in the championship, so if I've got to take a poorer result but not lose too many points, I think that's what I need to be doing rather than pushing for all the overtakes. But you never know what's going to happen, especially around here. All the pros seem to finish in the wall that race, apart from Taylor and Stewart. I finished 0.3 seconds off second place overall, so anything can happen, especially on the longer race.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, exactly. You never know. Congratulations on race 1 victory, Lewis, and good luck for race 2.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks very much. Lewis Bouvier there from Pro-Am. Just behind him in Pro-Am was Timothy Vanderbroek, who also joins us now. Timothy, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. Second place in the end. Couldn't quite overtake Lewis. Just what is it going to take to be able to actually overtake somebody around here? Because you weren't the only one who was struggling to make progress.
Well, it will be really interesting to see in the feature race, but yeah, really, we just need to hope that someone makes a mistake and then we can put the car beside it. Otherwise, there's really no chance to overtake here.
And what about the start of race 2 especially? It's going to be reverse grid. Everybody's going to be reversed, all 9 of you. You're going to be on the nearly on the back row of this one. How are you going to deal with the opening laps where everybody's so close together? And then how are you going to work your way through the order during the race?
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to take it easy at the start. We don't want any damage at all, especially on the opening laps when everyone is bunched up. And after that, it would just be see what will happen in the race and see how we are going to do it then.
We will see indeed. Timothy, thanks very much for joining us and having a chat, and good luck for race 2.
Thanks you. Good to have you here as well again.
Thanks very much. Timothy Vanderbroek there in the second place in Pro-Am, joining us there. Now, who to go to next? I'm going to go to the story in the championship of the AM variety, with Carl Pearce, who joins us third place in that one there. Carl, your pass on Sam Van Ruler was a nice one. We were watching you on board and looking at you while you did it, and you had a very big grin on your face afterwards as well. Just tell us a little bit about what it was like trying to work your way through past Sam.
So yeah, like before the whole situation, I did accidentally hit the barrier, and that which dropped me down 2 places. But yeah, knowing that Sem was in front and he's championship leader, I definitely want to raise my fist, really try and fight for it. And yeah, with that situation and that, just trying to keep an eye on him, trying to read exactly how he drives around the track and stuff. I was trying to think, right, how can I trick him here? And yeah, with that situation, when I just stayed on the inside of I can't remember what turn it was, turn 7 I think it was, I can't remember exactly, turn 8, sorry. Yeah, the only way I could do it to get past him is to completely fool him and trick him, and it seemed to be worked. Yeah, just looking at the webcams as well, seeing Sam, he was very, very frustrated, and yeah, I just had a massive grin on my face. It was quite funny. So I was very proud of that move for sure.
Yeah, we were on board with you at the time. What do you think about race 2? How do you think that one's going to go with the reverse? You're not actually going to move that many positions, to be fair.
No, so race number 2, it's I think the only thing I'm more worried about is the pit entry, really, and especially the pit exit. It's quite tricky. So yeah, I think the most important thing is just to not make contact with the barriers, of course, and yeah, just try and stay out of trouble. But if there's a fight between myself and Sam and your own, yeah, I'm definitely going to raise my fist up for that. Especially all 3 of us are fighting for the championship at the moment. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm definitely down for a battle for sure.
we will see how it goes indeed. Good luck for race 2, Carl, and thanks
Thank
very
you
much
very
for chatting
much.
to us.
Cheers,
Thanks
guys.
very much. Carl Pierce there, third place in race 1. See where he gets to in race 2. So to Sam Ruler, who finished in third, and we'll continue with some of our armed drivers here. Sam, welcome to the move as well. Now, did you have damage during that race there? Because I thought I saw you hit the wall at one point, or were you just not? Were you just struggling for pace a little bit?
Yeah, it hit the wall like 3 times, I think, but I didn't really have damage. I was just really struggling on pace. I was doing good on like the first, the entire lap until the last corner. I can still not get that down. Every time I get to the last corner, the guy behind me just gets very close to me, and the guy in front of me just gets away from me. So I just need to chase throughout the entire lap until the last corner, and then it goes away again. It was really frustrating, and that's why I was making some mistakes here and there, oversteering, understeering. It wasn't a good race.
What about race 2 though? How are you going to turn it around in this one with the reverse grid?
I'm just gonna defend very hard and hope I can just keep this position. That would make me very happy. I don't think. I don't know about the guys that are starting in front of me. I didn't really see them in the race. Obviously, Jeroen was really quick. He was faster than me, but I managed to keep him behind. But the rest in front, I didn't really see them, so I think I can overtake them, and then it's just a defending game. It's not really easy to overtake in this circuit, so I'm gonna try to use that to my advantage here. And also, I want to come in here because you guys were talking crap about my setup. Like, I'm fine with my mic, okay? I can do anything, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of.
I can't believe you heard us.
Yeah, I was watching the broadcast and I was like, how can he drive with that? It's completely fine. I'm the most comfortable I've ever been in my life. Okay, I've done 8 hours of driving straight from the Nürburgring because my teammate forgot to wake up. Okay, I was fine.
Oh my God.
But,
I can't believe you can. Well, put it this way: me and Zach wouldn't be able to drive like you do with that setup, certainly.
It's actually like a lot of people say that to me. It looks really uncomfortable, but I can make every movement that I do and not hit the mic or something. And the mic is actually not blocking my vision. It looks like I'm tilting my head up, but that's just the camera setup, I'm pretty sure. But it's all fine. Just wanted to give you guys that information before you start going on another rant. Thank you very much.
No, it's all right. It's whatever you're comfortable with, isn't it? Good luck for race 2, Sam. We look forward to hearing from you afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Sam Ruler there, putting all rumours to bed about his about himself.
To be honest.
He was fairly defensive, yeah. I wonder. Well, anyway, let's see how he gets on in the next race. Let's bring in Simon Dodd as well to round off our little bit of interviews after race 1. Simon, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. Unfortunate that race 1 didn't go quite as well for you as maybe you'd like. Just tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, lack of pace mainly, but then equally just took a bit too much pace through turn 1, just clipped that barrier on the exit and it bent the car. I thought I was alright, and then that dreaded old meatball turns up, didn't it? And I was like, okay, I'll drive through it, because it was drivable, like the steering wasn't really bent. I could just I could feel it. So I, couple of laps pitted, and then it was like, you sat here until after the race is finished. So, but I completed the 50% to get the reverse grid. I was in the top 10 because I think there's only 9 of us in Pro-Ams this week. So yeah, I just pootled round, did the pit stop, and then starting on pole for race 2. So being a street circuit, who knows? I might get a podium out of it if I'm very, very lucky.
Well, I mean, you'll be starting from the front. We've been hearing a lot from people about how it's difficult to overtake around here. I mean, what exactly do you have to do to defend here? Because some people look like they're just driving as they normally would.
Yeah, I think it's I think it was Jackie Stewart. He always said, the best way to defend is to just drive the racing line, and that's my plan for race 2. Is just drive the racing line, and because as soon as you start pulling out in the braking zone, trying to cover the inside, then you're compromising your entry and therefore your exit. If you stick to the racing line, you're hopefully going to have the quick exit to it, and no one will be able to get past you. Maybe cover it a little bit, but yeah, for the most part, just drive normally, because realistically there's 1, maybe 2 overtaking places on this track. So just be aware in those places and you should be fine, I think.
It is very, very difficult indeed. Simon, good luck for race 2, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much, Simon Dodd there, starting from pole in the Pro-Am order of things here this afternoon. 50 minutes of racing coming up then, Zach. It's going to be very interesting indeed. However, it could be a slow burner, especially in the first half when we, get trains sorted out basically and see what's what. But after that, we are going to see a little bit different, and the pit stops are going to be really, really vital in this race.
100%. We pretty much had almost all the drivers at some point say that overtaking is quite difficult. It is such a tight circuit. We saw it over the course of race number 1, and people struggling to find a way through. So I think this race is going to be won/lost in the pit lane, whether you come in a lap early or a lap later. Try and stretch the fuel as long as it can go, whatever the idea is, to try and get some clear air, try and make the advantage work however you can. If you can't get a move done on track, do it in the pit lane. But then again, that's also quite awkward, because if you're a driver that wants to come through the field and win, if you're stuck behind a train of cars for the first 30 minutes of the race while you're still waiting for that pit stop to actually come into effect so you can make the jump, you're going to lose a ton of time to the leader. So it is going to be a balance of both trying to pick your way through the field on track, but also make the most of the strategy as well.
Let's see how it pans out, because it could go anyway, really. Very much looking forward to seeing how this second race goes. Not long until we actually get underway for our race now. We're only seconds away, I do believe, before the race here this evening. So, looking forward to it. It looks like we've got another 5 minutes indeed, so we'll be going through that in a few moments, but it's going to be important. Here we go. We're just cycling into it now. There we are. Just over 4 minutes remaining before we get into this race. Carl Pierce there, just making his way over the line to complete his first flying lap of this warm-up session. But in the AM standings, I can't remember who's going to be on pole. I think it's going to be Tony van der Linden maybe on the pole for this one. Then it's going to be Jeroen Reigns in second place, and he is a championship contender here, Zach, with a very, very important job to do, I guess, which is to possibly win this race, put as many points as he can into Semban Ruler today.
At the very least, Carl Pierce, if second is his aim, if obviously trying to close the gap and win, making the most of any troubles that Sem might have. But yeah, basically the bottom line is go out there, make the most of the reverse grid and win with a bigger margin as you can, with as little pressure as you can. Obviously that's the aim for pretty much everyone, but particularly for Jeroen Reigns, who struggled a little bit in race 1. Might wants to bounce back and gain some points back in race number 2, because anything can happen in the final 2 rounds, and that's really where, if you can succeed when your rival has a couple of problems, that's where the points are going to be won, that's where the gaps are going to close, and that's where we could see a different champion to what we were expecting crowned in the AM. So yeah, it's a very important race for all of these guys, and going to be quite a tricky one as well. 50 minutes, while it isn't quite the quote-unquote endurance 75-minute races that we have had throughout the season, it's still a fairly long one to manage around Long Beach.
It is quite a long race, really. And traffic's going to be a problem as well. We're going to see on pole overall, it's going to be Lindmo. Hakan Lindmo is going to be on the pole position overall for this one. Ahead of, just behind him is going to be Taylor Lane. He'll be third on the start. Second place in the pro driver standings is going to be... who is it going to be in second place? Cardiel probably, actually, will be alongside him. Then it'll be Lane, then it'll be Reynolds, then Wills in the top 5. But you can imagine that the pro drivers, speaking of traffic and a long race, they're going to be involved in the AM drivers at some point throughout. And we spoke about how difficult overtaking is. I know there'll be blue flags, but that doesn't mean that the lap traffic won't affect the race. And in Pro-Am as well, I think some of the top Pro-Am drivers might actually be faster than the pros around this particular circuit. So there could be some awkward inter-class interactions at some point throughout this race as well, which could slow a few people down.
100%. We touched on it briefly during race 1, but particularly, almost definitely for the pros, that will be onto the back of the AMs. And while blue flags are sort of be predictable, more a bit of information more than a mandated get out the way sort of thing, it is still going to be quite difficult for the pros to find their way through. I don't really necessarily think we're going to see the AMs put up much of a fight for the pros. It's not going to be a massive thing where they could sort of clash or slow them down by sort of 5 seconds or whatever, but a small dip in terms of pace for one of the pro guys being stuck behind one of the AMs before they find an opportunity to find a way through, or before the AM driver pulls over to let them through, whatever it is, even if it's a difference of 1 or 2 seconds, any time lost could be absolutely massive for the pros. As Johan Reigns proves how difficult it is to actually get your way through the hairpin. He's done a 3-point turn, he smiled, he knows he's embarrassed, and well, we've got both the incident and his face, he's laughing itself off, but that is a man whose ego has been crushed.
Sorry, the look he gave to the left-hand side there, because he knew he was on camera, was hilarious. he thought, he just looked to the left-hand side, just confirmed that everybody saw that, and just raised his eyebrows. Just raised his eyebrows for a second in slight, I don't know, slight remorse for what he's just done, I guess. But there we are. He's getting on with his day anyway. Let's hope he's got that out of the way in preparation for the race. By the way, what do you think that strip of light is on in his background there? Because I can't work it out.
Is it not just an LED? Is it just the beam?
Yeah, but why is it direct? Why is it angled like that?
To look cool? I don't know. There looks like there's another one on the other side. So maybe it goes behind him and there's 2 beams of light. I don't know. That's too tall to be a lightsaber unless it's like a massive staff thing. I don't know. But
I was only joking with the lightsaber, by the way, earlier on.
100%.
I don't actually think that's what it is.
because it might. Who knows? Who knows what we get up to? You might just have a really big saber in your room. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It looks cool in the dark room with a light, well, lack of lights, and then a nice little blue streak in the middle. I don't know. It looks cool, I guess. But it's their own.
From that angle, it's quite unsymmetrical for my liking, but anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. Hakkinen Lindmo will be on the pole position here, then ahead of Cardio. It will be Tyler Lane and Stuart Reynolds ahead of Harry Wills, who didn't complete enough laps to benefit from the reverse grid. Simon Dodge will be on pole in Pro-Am, ahead of Marcel Breitenbach, who had that issue at turn 1 last time. Let's see how this time goes for him. Francois Perdreau will be alongside Ashraf Haddad, then it'll be Thomas Pugh and Jean Breitenbach on row 3 for Pro-Am. Just behind them, it's going to be Ivo van der Linden with an important day ahead of Timothy Vanderbroek. Lewis Boubier will be 9th, and Dean Timms will join the grid to make it 10 in Pro-Am. Tony van der Linden will be on pole in Am ahead of Johan Reigns. Sam van Breule, championship leader, will be 3rd ahead of Carl Pierce. Then Kurt van Hoornacker and Jarmo Sastamoinen will be on the back row of the grid. Well, a very, very interesting race ahead. And something to note that Dean Timms has joined us here. I wonder what he's going to be able to do in race 2.
Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out. Well, there we go. That's Cardiel. Very eager.
He's
to
eager.
Get going, yeah. Just like, yeah, you know what? I'm sure we'll care. But yeah, well, interesting fight in the pros, and nice to see Dean Timms taken to the field. Also, we've also got the debutant of Conor Kinnaird also there at the back end of the arms. I think he had a couple of connection issues to fight with over the course of race 1, but all sorted, it seems, for race 2, and now we get to see what he can do. He's told us that he's not going to be too punchy in the AM championship fights, but I don't know. Let's see what his pace is like.
Yes, let's see. By the way, Dean Timms doesn't look like he's actually taken the grid, so maybe he won't be starting here, but Conor Kinnaird will indeed be starting, as you mentioned, so that's all good news. Like to be on then here on the west coast of the USA, and Long Beach provides once again 50 minutes of race 2 coming your way in the IMB World Series League GT3 Championship. It's Hakkinen Lindmo with the jump on the rest ahead of Cardiel, with Taylor Lane and Stuart Reynolds battling side by side towards turn 1. Inside line for Lane, and Reynolds will stay where he qualified as the Pro-Am drivers get off to a start as well. Simon Todd with a good one here ahead of Marcel Breitenbach. It's side by side behind though, as Ashraf Haddad is with Francois Perdreau. They'll get single file as well. It's side by side further back with Jean Breitenbach on the inside line. He gets up into 5th place. It's a cleaner start in the Pro-Ams this time, I believe. Everybody getting through single file. The AM drivers will also get underway now, with Tony van der Linden making them wait really quite a long time actually to get underway here, and will hold them very long time towards the line as well. But somewhat bizarrely, they've all given him a car length to start with, and so Johan Reigns and Sam van Breule are going to be side by side for 2nd place, which is odd, but that's how they'll start anyway, and it will be side by side between Van Breule and Reigns. Down the inside for Reigns, around the outside for Sam. Oh, he found the wall, and the 2 championship contenders hit as well. Sam van Breule there suffering with damage in the first race, has already got some in the second.
Did not take long at all. The move maybe in haste maybe just understeering ever so slightly, and Sam Van Ruler has started the 50-minute race 2 on the back foot, a race that he really couldn't afford to have that happen. Harry Wills here fighting with Taylor Lane, ducking, diving. Where is he going to go? No way through for the BMW. Harry Wills able to stay ahead, but getting the wide line, it's something that we've seen quite often. Really much you can do through the fountain section, though. No way that Taylor Lane can really take advantage of that. But well, there we go. It was all calm, and then it just all kicked off at a moment's notice there in the end.
It did. Oh, and in the wall for Harry Wills. That was not ideal, but I don't think he'll have major damage as a result of that. This is back in the Pro-Am. Simon Dodd has not really been able to get away from the rest very much, but that's not exactly a big surprise. It is the reverse grid race after all. The real intrigue in this race is going to be how easy are people going to find it to overtake, and so far Marcel Breitenbach has been able to do quite well. Up into second place, he slid though out of turn 7. That could have been unideal, but he's gotten away with it, and so he'll stay in second place. But this is one long line, and I just wonder what is going to have to happen to split it apart, really.
Yeah, probably battles forming towards the back end of it, or pit stops or something, as Johan Reigns looks very eager. So too does Sam Van Ruler, nipping his way up the inside, both of them with sheer concentration. A shake of the head there from Johan Reigns in the bottom right. He's obviously not very happy with things, but well, I honestly thought that was quite a good move from Sam Van Ruler. Committed, bold, brave, and finds his way up in a second place despite the damage, and that's what happens in trains like this. You've got to make the most of moves like that.
And you see Sam Van Ruler shouting at someone or something, or just exclaiming with excitement, and now Jeroen Reigns just runs a little bit wide into the wall as well. Not sure, by the way, whether he was shaking his head at the move itself or his own driving, to be honest, because he knows that Sam Van Ruler is going to be difficult to pass around here at Long Beach, and by putting himself behind him, now he's made his race quite a lot more difficult.
He has indeed, and just taking to the outside line anywhere at Long Beach just leaves you so susceptible for someone nipping their way up the inside. So yeah, I don't think Reigns is overly happy with how things went, and he's obviously now under direct pressure from Carl Pierce. You can see at the top right of your screen, he's in the Ferrari just in behind the Belgian, and well, we've got the 3 championship leaders, second, third and fourth, all in this little train for the AMS. Tony Van Linden, we'll see if he can get away from Sam Van Ruler, but as it stands, he's trying to gain some points in the championship, this Van Ruler, and make the most of Long Beach after what is a fairly difficult round for him here today. But Johan Reigns and Carl Pierce, they're motivated, and well, Reigns looks motivated as ever to try and amend that mistake.
He also looks like he hates gardeners, by the way he went through that that fountain section there. He just rode on the grass completely. Somebody in California going to be shaking their head with pure despair at the moment. But anyway, Taylor Lane is right on the back of Harry Wills, by the way, and this has been a battle for 4th place, ongoing for quite some time. And I think it's a great example of how you can get stuck behind someone and lose a lot of time, because I think Taylor Lane showed in the first race that he is quicker than Harry Wills, but just can't find a way through, and now he's found himself 5 seconds removed from the pack, battling for the race win at the moment.
Easily done. It happened so quickly, and because of the lack of opportunities to overtake, as soon as you get into your own squabbles, you lose that time. And even if you are substantially quicker or even able to match the pace of those in front, as soon as the time's lost. But look at that, he does not look comfortable at all, taking several shots at the steering wheel to really get it in to the corner, and overcorrecting, not driving the car smoothly at all, and that is going to be unfortunate. Haken Limo side by side with Stuart Reynolds, inside line for the hairpin for the Lamborghini, but the Mercedes able to get himself ahead. I want to see what's happened beyond that. Stuart Reynolds really had to back off from the exit.
Very well done from Haken Limbo there, because exactly he forced Reynolds to just come to a dead stop almost. Cost him about 2 seconds there. You'll be able to see the gap in a couple of moments, 1.5 seconds indeed. But very good defending from Haken Limbo, who has lost the first position ahead of Kai Diel, who now leads this race. Just over 5 minutes gone at Long Beach. It's still Simon Dodd in the Pro-Ams right now, although Marcel Breitenbach has let a bit of a gap open to him. There's Ivo van der Linden, Timothy van der Broek just behind. Then Louis Boubier just a little bit further behind as well. The championship contenders all still clumped towards the back.
They are. They've not really been able to make any advancements forwards, unlike the pros and the AMs, where we have seen a bit of movement and racing. The Pro-Am's not really had much of that at all, and I guess it's the longest train in the bunch. Johan Reigns once again wide, and this time it's not really cost him a position, but still struggling. The top 4 separated by nothing in the AMs. Van Linden from Van Ruler, from Reigns, from Pierce. It has been quite a close fight, and yeah, don't really know as to what's happened in the Pro-Ams. There is issues
no.
with Taylor
Oh,
Lane, though.
big
That
problem.
is shaking, and he does not look happy. Let's put it in the bluntest way possible. That wheel is, yeah, that car's pulled over, and he's got to let all the Pro-Ams through. That's his race 2 done, I think.
He needs to stop here before he gets he swipes one of them. Yeah, there we go. He's let them all through. I'm not sure what kind of issue he's got here. I'm sure we'll get a replay in a few moments' time as to quite what's happened there. But disappointment for Taylor Lane, who was hounding Harry Wills for quite some time and was very displeased as well. He could be angry at himself, or indeed angry at Harry Wills. We'll wait and find out on that one. The battle for AM honours is still as exciting as ever. Possibly one of the most exciting we've seen for quite some time down here in AM, actually. Sam Van Ruler here, not the dominant force he's been for most of the rounds this season, and it's providing an exciting race.
Absolutely, it's been so far so good. Taylor Lane into the pit lane, and yeah, well, that's a shame for him. But yeah, well, we've still got about 42.5 minutes left to go of this, and fight for the championship in the AMS. As wide goes Tony Van der Linden. Sam Van Ruler puts his foot down, and this is an opportunity that he cannot waste. If he gets in front, he can control the pace, he can defend with all his might, and Sam Van Ruler, sheer concentration, pulls out to the left-hand side, tries to find the space, gets squeezed all the way, but he's not given it up at all. A smile from ear to ear for the Flying Dutchman. The championship leader takes the race lead in race 2. Tries to get the up and under, does Tony Van der Linden, but finds the rear end of the Porsche. I think it's caused calamity in the background.
Yeah, it has. Reigns is in the wall. Reigns is in the wall as he tried to make his way through on the fellow BMW in this class. He couldn't do it, and unfortunately has found himself in the wall. Your own Reigns is going to be really unhappy with what's gone on now as Tony Van der Linden's off down at the turn 5 as well. Not sure quite how he's ended up there, but he's gone from 1st to 6th in a matter of corners. A big disappointment for him as Connor Kinnard gets ahead of the ball. There he goes up to the top 5, but a shame for Tony Van der Linden, who's seen his race just melt away there in the last few moments.
Yeah, it's gone from so good to so bad in the blink of an eye, a snap of your fingers, and that is how racing goes, particularly here at Long Beach, how easy things can go wrong. And Tony Van der Linden at some point might have even in the back of his head thought, I actually have a chance of winning this, but now that chance has dwindled, and it's such a shame. Obviously Sam Van Ruler and Carl Pearce are going to be loving it because they now get to take the top 2 places as the struggles continue. Tony Van der Linden, it's just been from bad to worse. I think he's going to pull over and park it. This is what happened to Taylor Lane.
Oh, it's a solo incident, isn't it? Just a lot of understeer on the way in, and slams into the tyre wall, and that will be a pit stop at the, well, it was a pit stop for him. Possibly it is the end of his day immediately. Tony Van der Linden might well see the end of his day as well in the AM category, unfortunately. Sam Van Ruler now the new leader, and is going to have a lot of defending to do, you'd imagine, over the course of this race. Stuart Reynolds is still on the back of Hakin Limo, and this has been the case for quite some time as well. Reynolds not in a desperate situation here to do even more and gain even more places. Even with the position he's in right now, he'd score 60 points on the day and end the day with a 6-point championship lead. But by going down the inside here, he might increase it to 8 points. Here he goes, inside line, 2nd place, and now he's only got his teammate to chase down for the race win. As, well, that's a lot of smoke in towards turn 1. Not sure who's been off or quite what's happened there. It could be Sam Van Ruler. Yeah. It could be Kaidiel as well. 2 race leaders have gone off within seconds of each other here.
Oh no, I mean, I saw Sam Van Ruler have issues. I saw him tumble off. I didn't quite notice Kai Dial as well. Hopefully we can take another look as to what's happened there, because Johan Reigns has also had a couple of issues. We'll cue that up and get it to you right now. Side by side with Sam Van Ruler. That's
earlier.
I think that this is where he got the move done. Tapped it into the barrier, and well, that's obviously what saw the initial calamity. I want to know what's just happened in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, we'll get those replays up, but getting replays of things that happen at the same time is a little bit awkward sometimes, so we'll have to deal with that. But Stuart Reynolds now the new leader. Harry Wills back to pit lane as well, unfortunately. Taylor Lane already out here, but let's have a look what happened to the race leader. This is the AM race leader, Sam Van Ruler, in towards... Oh, he's hit the inside wall, then the outside, down at turn 8. Carl Pearce does well to avoid, then Sastamoinen and Jerome Reigns. But a completely solo car incident. Sam Van Ruler with a big moment there, and he'll lose some more championship points by the looks of it. Oh no! And there's Kaidiel. There's how he gets involved, completely unawares. And 2 race leaders caught up in 1.
big shame. Huge shame for Cardiel. He was so unsuspecting to that, couldn't really react to it much, and before he even knew it, his race was over, and, well, he's still in third place, to be fair, if he can repair the damage and get out, but it's not going to be the race win that he once hoped for. Sam Van Ruler is going to be kicking himself and hating how this race has gone for him. Carl Pearce has taken a perfect opportunity here to score some really big points with only a couple of rounds left to go in terms of the championship. It's going to take a miracle for him to seal it in the final two, but who knows what can happen. Side by side, some movement amongst the Pro-Ams. Timothy van der Breggen versus Ivo van der Linden in the fight for sixth.
This side by side between the two of them now. Important for van der Linden especially to get through here. Side by side between the two Brayton backs by the looks of it. Is it in towards position number 5? It's not. It's van der Linden trying to get through on Brayton back, isn't it? And then Van der Broek, who's now in front of Thomas Pugh. And so Van der Linden... Oh, no! Van der Linden... Oh! He gets through cleanly, apart from Brayton back, but Ivo van der Linden is in the wall, and he's going to have huge problems getting turned back round again now, because it's a really narrow part of the racetrack. There he goes again. He'll get back going, but what a shame that is. Louis Boubier's up to 6th place. Van der Linden with a huge moment for his championship.
Wow, that is... Yeah, we've had it now in all 3 categories. Huge moments, huge bits of drama, and, well, it's a cursed race for some, potentially. Simon Dodd is going to be loving it to be leading. Francois Perger up to 2nd, but huge news for so many people to have suffered already this early on in the race. We're, yeah, just over 20% of the way through, and already so much calamity have struck, and Simon Dodd's still struggling there in terms of the rear end grip. It's just been such a difficult race for so many.
It really has. Down the straight towards turn 9 again for the leaders in Pro-Am that's seen so much catastrophe so far in this race, really. Simon Dodd leads Francois Perger and Nestor Haddad. They've not had the catastrophe, it's been behind. Louis Boubier now through, and once again gaining even more points on Ivo van der Linden. After race 1, he extended his championship lead to 10 points, and if things stay as they are right now, Boubier would extend it further by another 2 points. So I guess there's not too much in it, but even so, it's not ideal. And we said before the race here, Zach, that Van der Linden, Van der Linden, he does probably need to gain points today to keep this one interesting, keep it close. But once again in the second race, losing points again, albeit only 2.
Yeah, well, points are points at the end of the day. I think you've got to maximise your opportunities where you can, and this late on in the season, in a championship as close as that one, you cannot afford any disparity. You've got to gain and gain and gain and be on the up, but not only from a physical standpoint of points, but also that mental standpoint of the confidence going into the final 2 rounds, not having that pressure, not having to give it absolutely everything in the final 2 to even have a slim chance of winning. It's all about that mental game, and well, Louis Boubier, well, we'll find out what he can do, because he is still running and not completely out of things, so who knows what he can do as the race progresses. But in terms of Ivo van der Linden, that is a huge chunk, and it puts so much more pressure going into the final 2.
It does. By the way, in Pro, we've seen a lot of drivers out this race already. Cardio and Taylor Lane already retirements confirmed from this race. Sean Breitenbach, Harry Wills and Tony van der Linden all getting repairs. So is Sam Van Ruler, because he desperately needs the points here, as does everybody really, I guess, who's down there repairing their cars at the moment. Been a very dramatic day so far, but the top 3 have barely changed here in Pro-Am. They're still absolutely locked together, and Simon Dodd doing exactly what he told us he would do before the race, which is just, drive his line. And if you do that around long weeks, then nobody's going to be able to go offline and overtake you for the moment. So he's doing exactly everything he needs to.
Exactly. That's, again, drive within your limits, drive within the car's limits, and chances are you might actually be okay. You just need to maybe move over to the inside a couple of times to cover off your bases. But apart from that, honestly, just drive the track, and it does all the defending itself. However, are there going to be any changes? Because Ashraf El Haddad looks menacing in that Lamborghini tucked up behind the Frenchman of Peugeot. Not quite close enough for really anything right now, but a 3-car fight does look quite menacing, and potentially we could see something happen. But again, the difficulties in overtaking, it might be a long time before we see anything happen, and it's probably going to be on the back end of a mistake.
Well, let's see how else it's going to change if indeed that is the case. Simon Dodd at the moment still Still leading them around by the smallest gap by quite some distance. Stuart Reynolds has nearly 5 seconds. Carl Pearce has nearly 4. Looking to try and take a race win here is Pearce. And gain those points on Sam Van Ruler that he desperately needs to. The race is really against time for Van Ruler down in the pit lane. There's no other championship contenders getting repairs at the moment, but he's nearly 7 minutes down on pit lane right now. He's already done 7 laps. If we supposedly did 20 laps in the first race here, Zach, and we're doing 40 in this one, he needs to get out there with at least enough time to do 13 laps, which I would argue is around 15 minutes, maybe 20 he'll need. So he's got another quarter of an hour to repair, and then he'll have to be out there and try and complete the laps.
Yeah, which is obviously not going to be with a perfect car. Might end up in another spin or a crash that could see him out with things even more and spend more time in the pit lane. So it is quite touch and go. So he's probably hoping to see there, but it's not the case. If you get damage, you've got to take the full brunt of it and then work your way back out onto circuit. It's so difficult in races like this because it's short and sharp. So yes, this is the long race, the two, but in terms of iRacing damage repairs, some of them take a long time to get done, and even the mandatory repairs to have your car in a quote-unquote track-worthy condition is still not fun to drive. You're not going to be anywhere near the pace, and you might actually find yourself having a bit of a slow workaround and not actually score any points. So yeah, I think it just goes down to how difficult Long Beach is.
Wow, Simon Dodd just came under fire from Francois Perdreau in towards turn number 1, but and he's gone! Simon Dodd with a problem here at the fountain. He's been, I think they were side by side on the way in, and as they ducked into the fountain, I think Simon Dodd has been tipped into a spin by Francois Perdreau. Don't want to jump to conclusions just yet because we haven't seen it, but even so, I do think that might be what's happened there. And, well, that could be a huge moment in the course of this race in Prime. Esteban Haddad all of a sudden looks pretty racy, actually, in that second position. But, goodness me, this could be a big incident. I saw they were side by side over the line. Less than half a tenth of a second separated them as they went over the line there. And as they went up towards turn 1 as well, they were side by side. Simon Dodd defending well, as we commented earlier on, but unfortunately, looks like there has been an incident now between the two, and Perdreau is at the front of the group. It's a 5-car group as it stands, and this is exactly why. It's Perdreau actually got to the inside line in towards turn 1, which doesn't happen very often. Dodd goes around the outside through turn 1, narrowly misses the tyre wall on the way in, then goes into the fountain. Perdreau tries to keep it side by side, and in the end, it just wasn't going to be, and Simon Dodd ends up in the wall.
Here, that doesn't, you can't really justify sending a move that half-heartedly to the inside. It's just never going to end well. Maybe you can get off unscathed, but for the driver you're overtaking, you've got to be mindful of them, be courteous of them, and I put that down wholeheartedly to Perdreau. I think Dodd was on his line and did exactly everything right. It was just a desperate move from Perdreau, and unfortunately found the previous race leader into the barrier quite heftily, and very much out of contention for this race. It's been a race of attrition, and it just shows how careful you have to be around Long Beach, but it has given Ashraf El Haddad potentially the opportunity for a move to the race lead. He's not too far back, but really going on into Firestone at the back end of the back straight. Marcel Breitenbach, Timothy Vandenbroek and Lewis Boubier make up the 5-car train for the lead, and well, I guess in some cases it's spiced things up a little bit more in the sense that we've now got 5 cars as opposed to 3.
Well, it certainly has changed the course of the race a little bit. And it's closed everyone up as well. You saw by the view we got there that everyone behind, including the likes of El Haddad, really slowed up, and it was a real concertina effect. So Lewis Boubier was able to catch up to the back of this train as well, which is good news for him. He's now in 5th place. Just behind him in 6th is Van der Linden. Only 1 point separating the two of them today, so the gap would increase to 11 points as things stand. I've got to say, Marcel Breitenbach doesn't quite look like he can hold the group at the moment, really, and Timothy Vandenbroek might be on his way past in the near future, or at least trying to make his way past very soon.
Yeah, well, again, it's that desperation and things, and how much you want to risk throwing a move to the inside. How long have you got to wait around? We've still got over half the race left to go, so he might be able to afford a bit of time to be a bit patient, but that pressure from behind might force his initiative just a little bit into right-hander again, and there's not really much that he can do. But again, what is the risk versus the reward here? Ashraf El Haddad, his difficulties on getting past Francois Peugeot are the same difficulties that Breitenbach will have on getting past himself. It's mistakes like that he could very much capitalize off, and it's the highest chance moves that you want to go for and capitalize on, and I think that's exactly what El Haddad is going to do here.
Let's see, there could well be another altercation in towards turn one. We'll see if it spills over into the fountain as well. El Haddad to the inside. Peugeot tries to narrow his line as much as possible, but the Lamborghini's unfazed, and it's into P1 as well. Ashraf El Haddad takes the lead just under the halfway mark of this race here at Long Beach. Francois Peugeot couldn't do anything about that, and the Lamborghini looks significantly quicker, it has to be said.
He does, absolutely. It is so fast, and I think at the hands of El Haddad, it's just been even quicker. Brilliant stuff being displayed, and I think the agility of that Lamborghini just goes to help it. It's decent in a straight line as well, works its way through the corners all right, and well, is it going to be a runaway with things? Lewis Boubier caught up in P5, the championship leader trying to pick his way through bit by bit, and to be fair, has done that, but you know, how long is he willing to wait around for? How good is his strategy going to be to get in front of, you know, 3-4 cars to win this race? Who knows? But with just over half of it left to go, anything can happen, and already a lot of things have happened. So who knows what the rest of the race has in store is. There's the Concertina effect. They're happening in full swing.
Big effect there. Through the final turn. You see the sun coming down here on the west coast of the United States, so we're very much getting towards the evening time now. I guess in real life as well, I suppose. That was a little bit wide from Tony van der Linden. He's actually just got exiting the pit lane, that's why he was so wide. 14 minutes down on pit lane for Tony van der Linden, and I don't quite remember his incident, Zach, but I have a feeling it was slightly less significant than Sam van Ruller, who's also about to tick up to the exact same amount of time. He's about to lose a place, is Sam van Ruller, or he has lost a place, and so pretty worrying, really. He needs to get out there in the next 10 minutes or so to complete enough laps and get those points.
He does. They're crucial points to take, particularly after the DNF at Bathurst. That sideways from Marcel Breitenbach. Timothy Van der Breggen going to look to the inside and capitalise on it. Into the podium goes the Dutchman. Marcel Breitenbach with a poor run as well. Lewis Boubier interested to maybe capitalise off it as well. And that has been the name of the game. Wait for a mistake, seize your moment and find your way ahead. That's exactly what Van der Breggen has just done. Finds himself now on the podium, and a clumsy mistake from Breitenbach, to say the least.
It was a little bit. And now Lewis Boubier is going to be able to find his way through as well, surely. What about Ivo van der Linden? He seems to have dropped off the pace, really, van der Linden. Although his pace seems all right at the moment, so I'm not really sure what's going on with him. But either way, he's quite a long way behind these guys now, as they make their way down towards turn one. Couple of seconds, that's where Haddad has got at the moment, but he does have that bit of traffic in the form of Tony van der Linden right now. Here they come through turn one in the Pro-Am lead, just under the halfway mark of this race. Stuart Reynolds on lap 19, actually. I think, as things stand, he would only actually, so it would only have been a 19-lap race if he'd have ran this pace for this race. But the gap's down 23 seconds, as Stuart Reynolds did a 1:29.4 on the last lap, which is 12 seconds slower than his best lap time. So clearly, there's been a problem.
Yeah, there has been somewhere. We'll take a look as to what's happened to Tony van der Linden for the AMs and see if there's any major incidents for him, but I'm curious as to what's happened to Stuart Reynolds. There it is, the BMW in the middle, Sam van Ruller in front. Did he get caught up in what's happened to Sam? Maybe. Yeah, that's a tap from the Ferrari. That is
Carl Pierce.
Of Carl Pierce, and all by himself rejoins the circuit. Oh, there's worse, there's better, but well, yeah. Well, yeah. Nothing he could have done there. That was just completely Pierce's fault for an incident.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Sam van Ruller's back out on the circuit, and by the looks of the shot we're getting now, his car looks all right, actually. Jerome Rains is in the pit lane now. Not sure why, because he's been in there for nearly 5 minutes, but he's the 9th driver of this race to have this fate so far. There is Van Ruller, just about doing the laps, really, trying to. Oh no, he's just ahead of Tony van der Linden by about 20 seconds, so maybe that's why he decided to exit the pit lane instead of the fact that his car was actually ready. But anyway, he's out there now, and if he manages to do 6 more laps before Jerome Rains gets out the pit lane, then he'll have another position in this championship, so maybe it won't be so bad after all.
Potentially so. John Brayton had a couple of issues in this race. He's back out onto the circuit after 12 minutes in the pit lane, which is a sizable amount of time. BMWs have looked worse, they've looked better as well, but if the car's drivable, if it's bearable, if it's points on the board at the end of the day, I suppose that is all that matters come the end, and we've just ticked past halfway, so realistically you've got to get out there now, and there's a spin there of someone, is that of Timothy Vanderbroek.
Yeah, both of them actually. Pedro and Vanderbroek has gone. So, what's happened here? So much drama in this race, so many things twisting and turning all the time. Kevin Hornacker is on the back of Conor Kinnard, by the way. And by the way, debutant on the podium here. Conor Kinnard is having a fantastic opening race in the IMB World Series League's GT3 Championship. Kevin Hornacker right behind him, applying the pressure. There's Semba Muller behind, but not for position, as it has been so often in this season. But, well, not often, I suppose, but he has often been quicker than them. Let's have a look at a replay then, as we cross over the halfway mark. This is how Pedro and Vanderbroek both came unstuck. It's coming out of 6 and 7. Pedro spins, and into the back of him goes Vanderbroek, who joins in on the spin.
Well, that is synchronised all the way up until really the end, until Timothy Vanderbroek has a bit more angle on it. They both flip their way around, face each other head on. And are both very frustrated with how that's gone on, because they were both in very good positions. Here's Kurt Van Hoenacker trying to strip Kinnard of his debut podium. No changes between the two Ferraris as it stands, though I'm sure Kinnard is going to be very, very happy with the proceedings of race number 2, despite the fact he couldn't take to race number 1. But he's got work cut out for him as to the pit lane. Marcel Brayton back, Lewis Boubier up in a second.
He is. That's just for the moment. Brayton back making a scheduled pit stop, you'd hope. First of them. Jerome Reigns has been in for 7 laps now, but he's 7 minutes now, but he's on his way out as well in 5th place. Just about, I know it says 1 lap on Semban Brulé. It's actually about 4 that he's got there, so he should be absolutely fine. But this race has really been very, very attritional. This is a bit more what like I was expecting from the opening race actually, but so far it's been this one, nearly half an hour gone. And this circuit showing why you never really have races any longer than 2 hours around here. I guess the IndyCar race is probably the longest they have, at about an hour and a half, hour and 40 kind of range. Because you just see so much attrition that if you went for any longer, there'd be no one left.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just so difficult. End of, really, is the consensus to that. Kurt Van Hoenacker peeling off into the pit lane, maybe trying to get the undercut relative to Conor Kinnard. But, yeah. Long Beach is difficult, it's tight, it's twisty, we've seen that firsthand. Already sort of had a short list of entries coming into today because of how difficult it is, and the survivors are going to be a lot less than that, and we've still got just over 20 minutes of racing action left to decide it all, but I guess it just means that a little bit more if you can get all the way to the end and reap the rewards.
Yes, still a long way to go before then. Now, through the final corner for Jerome Reigns. He's back out there on the circuit again, and there he is on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, just ahead of one of the Brayton bags. By the looks of it, it will be Marcel, who's already made his pit stop here in this race so far. Francois Pedro is into the pit lane right now. He's going to be overtaken by Brayton Mack, is he? Oh, maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe it's John Brayton Mack, actually, who's re-emerged after 11.5 minutes down on pit lane. It looks like it might well be at the end of this. Francois Pedro makes his way back out again. Where's Marcel Brayton back going to be in relation to them? Well, 9 seconds shorter in the box for Pedro. Probably gives you your answer, but we'll find out very shortly anyway, as Stuart Reynolds sets the fastest lap of the entire race midway through it. There's Brayton back, and it turns out even with such a longer stop, it looks like he might well still get out in front of Pedro anyway. Pedro was quite a long way behind, as it turns out, as a result of that late spin, I suppose. So Brayton back into the top 5. Now we're waiting for the others to come in, namely Lewis Boubier and Eva van der Linden, to see where they're going to finish today.
They've both got decent pace, so maybe the bit of clean air is going to do them a bit of good, and we might see them make the jump. But I suppose that is a matter for in a few moments' time, when they do eventually decide to bite the bullet and head their way in. There is Stuart Reynolds leading the way by 7.5 seconds clear of Haken Limo. They're the only 2 pros left out on the circuit. which is bizarre. The pros really struggling with the rate of attrition today, but Stuart Reynolds, as we expected, if he can get clear, he's going to run away with things, and this is going to help him massively in terms of the championship, picking off the back of some traffic, but not really much to slow him down. He's got the gap to play with. He can just take this nice and calm.
Yep, he can. There's Limbo, who's in the second position at the moment, just waiting for a pit stop. I mean, the fuel consumption's so low around here, by the way, Zach. I mean, fuel burn per lap is so low around here that you can actually go quite a long way. And even in the official races, which I know are 40 minutes and limited to a similar amount of fuel as we are, so I wouldn't imagine anyone can go the distance. But in official racing, sometimes at Long Beach, you can actually save enough fuel to actually go the distance. I seem to remember, especially the Mercedes were pretty good at that. I can't imagine anyone's going to do that here, but we could see some pretty late stops today.
Where was it that has that happened so far this season? Have people tried to go for a... No, because they don't manage pit stop. Sorry, yeah, no, that's just me having a bomb moment. I thought we did see that at some point in the season, but they can definitely push it quite long. We've already seen that time and time again, where people go 35 minutes plus into a race and then finally come in. So yeah, just lift and coast, take it easy on the way around, which you should be doing anyway to try and keep it nice and consistent, and you might actually find yourself at the end of the race taking a short stop, which around here could equal some track position, which is going to mean pretty much a surefire position if you can defend well and keep the pace up and not make a massive mistake. So yeah, interesting stuff. Ashraf El Haddad leads 5.8 seconds clear to championship leader Lewis Boubier, who I can't imagine is too keen. Well, obviously he's going to be keen on winning this race, but he's not going to be at the top of his priority list. I think his priorities is to finish the race and at least score decently high. The difference in terms of points between first and second aren't massive to him, so much so that as long as he retains the championship lead, he should be all good.
Yeah, I think he will do. As things stand, if they were to finish where they are right now, it would increase to 12 points. But as we've said before, drop rounds end today, so any scores from Sebring and Daytona have to count starting next week at Daytona. Make sure you join us for it. We'll be live at the same time as we always are on a Wednesday night for the racing there. There's Eva van der Linden. I just wonder how he's going to be feeling going into those races at Daytona, knowing that he's got a big job on his hands, because 12 points doesn't sound like a lot here, but 12 points is the difference between first and ninth in the points in these feature races. In the sprint rounds, it's from first to ninth as well, and in the endurance rounds, it's from first to third, to be fair, where it's only 10 points. So that's a little bit... It could all come down to Sebring, to be fair, judging by that. But even so, these sprint rounds really don't allow you that much opportunity to actually gain or lose many points. As somebody's off there, is that Timothy Vanderbroek, who's rejoining right in front of Carl Pearce, who probably won't be pleased about that. And it was indeed Timothy Vanderbroek. No idea how he's found himself on the outside line there.
Yeah, bizarre stuff. Not entirely sure, but he's carrying on. Not really much harm done, so who cares? I'm sure we'll maybe find out in a couple of moments, but he's still breathing, he's still good, he's still going and still leading. Whether or not he's going to still keep that lead after tapping into the back end of... Who was it a little bit earlier on? It was Marcel Breitenbach a little bit earlier on, and maybe he might lose the race win later on. We'll take a look as to something as to that did happen. This is Timothy Vanderbroek, all by himself, it seems.
Just broke too late, hasn't he?
Oh wow, straight on. That is, yeah, I think that's the first type of incident we've seen of that.
It is, but I mean, you'd rather do that though, wouldn't you, than smack into the wall, the tyre wall on the right hand side there. So it looks awkward and it's really painful, I guess, but it's the lesser of two evils, I think we can say, and he's joined into the pit lane right now.
100%, yeah. You've got to weigh it up. If you're going to make a mistake, make the right one of the two and not take any damage. Because if you crash, you're going to lose the same time as you would if you took the runoff area, plus a bit of time that's going to lose you damage a little bit later on in the long run. Take another look back at it, because plenty of replays to indulge into. Simon Dodds tapped around a little bit earlier on, rejoined the circuit in a very scuffed BMW, looks on rails, and the rear end has got absolutely no grip whatsoever, and around he goes.
And he's going to just reverse. Is he not going to get himself disqualified it? I suppose you only get disqualified for driving the wrong way, which you might be about to do as well, to be fair. Here we go. Now he's going forwards the wrong way and looking for a place to rejoin. Well, he's going to have to do a 3-point turn. Oh, and oh dear, he's backed into the wall again. He'll wait for another Lamborghini to go past, and then he'll get back into the race again. That was a rather bizarre one. As Connor Kinnard comes into the pit lane as well now. Kevin Harnacker might well overtake him here. Although he's on his way out, actually, so maybe not. No, he's, well, it's going to be quite close, actually. We'll um and ah about it a little bit longer. Here comes Van Harnacker down the straight, and it will be another place. I think it's that particular move there showing just how important the pit stops actually are, because Van Harnacker was stuck behind Kinnard for quite some time, actually, but if you do it in the pit stops, then it seems all very easy.
Exactly, takes all the hard work out of it. You don't really need to risk going into any barriers or making any contact or anything like that. Do it, get the time done on a relative delta pace, and off you go. Simple as. The two leaders, the two running cars left in pro, Stuart Reynolds and Haken Limo, into the pit lane with just under 13 minutes left to go of race number 2. And are we going to see the top lot in the Pro-Ams also come into the pit lane as well? Ashraf Al Haddad in. And maybe Lewis Boubier as well. No, actually, Lewis Boubier is going on for another lap. So really trying to stretch this thin one.
He is. And he's not the only one as well. We've seen Stuart Reynolds and Hakan Lindmo already into the pit lane. Reynolds has already come out again in the lead before Boubier has even made his stop. Carl Pearce and Jarmo Sastimoinen are still yet to make stops as well. But no more Pro-Am drivers expected to come into pit lane other than Boubier now. As there comes Hakan Lindmo out of the pit lane. Ivo van der Linden makes his way out, and Ashraf Al Haddad will as well. Now, where's van der Linden in relation to the likes of Breitenbach? Well, he's quite some distance in front. Although I didn't realise he hadn't quite made his stop yet, actually. So maybe he will be stuck behind some of them again. We'll see where Boubier comes out as well. But there is El Haddad. There's Marcel Breitenbach, quite some way behind. Ivo van der Linden still stationary, over 20 seconds. This is a long stop for Ivo van der Linden. 10 seconds is around where you'd expect to see at this stage in the race, and it's approaching half a minute now. This is bad news for Ivo van der Linden.
It is indeed. Long stops, never great, and could be costly for him and his championship charge. He's still stationary, still stopped. That is a long, painful, grueling stop. He's not got long left to really amend it either and claw back that time gain lost in the pit lane. So I think 5th, now dropped to 6th behind Timothy van der Broek. That is huge. Carl Pearce and Jarmo Sastimoinen into the pit lane as well from the AM lead, and Ivo van der Linden, that is going to be one of the most painful pit stops I think he has ever felt in his life.
Oh, 51 seconds. Yes, Jarmo Sastimoinen, race 1 winner, into the pit lane. Carl Pearce carrying on. Oh no, sorry, he's already in and out. Excuse me. By quite some distance. But that is very painful for Ivo van der Linden. Back down to 6th place now in the standings, and we'll have to see where Lewis Boubier comes out. But if he's many places in front, it's going to be an even more damaging day for him. Lewis Boubier must be driving with slippers on or something at the moment, because he's been very, very good on fuel mileage right now. Just over 10 minutes remaining in this race, and he's still going.
Yeah, that is well, I guess being sat in 5th place of the Pro-Am train really has helped that, in the sense that he's just been able to lift, coast, chill, stay on pace with everyone, and go extra long. He's going to save so much time in terms of refueling his car. His pace hasn't been that bad relative to everyone else as well, so he's actually been able to keep a good pace and hit a nice fuel target. He's going to be in the pit lane, stop for a couple of seconds, fueled up again, into the pit lane finally, but he's only going to need 10 minutes worth of fuel. That is insane. It's a race against time versus Ashraf El Haddad, whether or not he'll be in and out before the Dutchman overtakes him, but great stuff from Lewis Boubier strategy-wise.
Absolutely fantastic. And he'll pull into the pit lane now. Sam Marula now typing in the Discord chat, which worries me a little bit as to his whereabouts. He's down on pit lane again after 18 laps. It might not be quite enough for Sam Marula to score points, so it needs to be careful of that. Lewis Boubier is out of the pit lane though. Having made his stop. Ashraf Al Haddad should get through here, but there's a long way back to Marcel Breitenbach in the 3rd place, so it looks like Lewis Boubier could be 2nd here, and that would allow him to gain another 6 points over Ivo van der Linden. There's a bit more traffic. Neither of them are Marcel Breitenbach, so Lewis Boubier in a fantastic position, and once again here at Long Beach, looks like he's going to be extending his championship lead.
Absolutely. Brilliant stuff from El Haddad, obviously. He, gotten into the lead and it is looking good to try and control that. But from Lewis Bouvier, a championship standpoint, couldn't have asked really for more. Race 1 victory, race 2 second place. If it holds out for the final 8.5 minutes, class of the field once again for Lewis Bouvier. Of course, you know, looked good in the AMs last season, but now he's taken a step up to Pro-Am and we're seeing a completely different driver, consistency-wise, pace-wise, racing-wise. He's just transformed and has been so good all season long. And yeah, on a day where Van der Linden hasn't exactly had the best run of form, he's capitalised on it, he scored the points where it counts, and now it's all down to the final 2 for him.
And there's Ivo van der Linden with all of the work to do in the world. This is not going to be a drop round for him, by the way, nowhere near as weak as his the last 2 round race that he had actually was at Monza. I think he really struggled there, and that's where his drop round comes from at the moment, I believe. This round not as bad as that. Francois Pedro not far behind. Marcel Breitenbach. Timothy van der Broek 5th, but not in range of Ivo van der Linden, who has just got through on Jarmo Sostermoinen. It's the closest battle on the circuit, even though it's not for a class position. It is a battle for an overall place, I guess. Just over 7 minutes remaining in this one then, and it's Stuart Reynolds still leading overall. Takan Lindmo, the only other pro driver in the field. We are going to see the Pro-Am winner, whoever that may be, finish on the podium overall. At the moment, it is Ashraf El Haddad who is in that position. Lewis Bouvier trying to chase him down at the moment, but we've seen some attritional races so far this season. Zach, this one will top it off and will probably hold the record throughout the rest of the season for the most attritional race.
100%. Don't see Daytona or Sebring really topping this. It's what we expected. I'm just surprised it's even more attritional than what we saw at the Nordschleife or Bathurst, and they were 75 minutes long, and it's not really been a surprise, but it's kind of been a surprise as to how extreme it has been with these guys. So awesome stuff from those that are able to, you know, still be in it, despite the fact that the vast majority of those haven't. And you've got Ashraf El Haddad, the leader of the Pro-Ams, 3rd overall, which I think says all you need to know as to how difficult this race has been for so many. And I think the white flag followed by the checker flag is going to be a very, very nice sight for sore eyes.
It is. Just over 6 minutes remaining. There's Reynolds at the final corner right now. By the way, only 6 drivers are on the lead lap. That's Timothy van der Broek just behind. He's not on the lead lap overall. That says a lot about this race as well. And the pace of Stuart Reynolds as well, I suppose. He is going to score a double race win as far as I can make out today, Zach. And 65 points next to his name. Chris Chatterton's drop round is 19 points worse off than that, so Reynolds is going to gain 19 points on the day. And so because the first round results have been added, I can no longer work it out, but I think it will be Reynolds with an 11-point lead heading into the final 2 rounds. Now, these margins really don't sound like a lot, and even Sembram Ruler's margin, which is going to be quite big going into the final round. After race 1, for example, it was reduced to 36 points, but with drop rounds no longer a thing in the final 2, you can't take your drop rounds anymore. You know, that's going to be a big talking point, and so even championship leaders with a huge lead are going to have to be right on it, because you can't afford DNFs. You've got to score points.
Absolutely. Points on the board are going to be the aim of the game. Getting to the end, I think that is going to be so much pressure on the shoulders of the drivers, because they know they've got no fallbacks to take. They can't risk crashing. They can't maybe go for those moves that they really would want to take to score those extra points. It's just something else to balance in their head, and if it goes wrong, it all goes wrong for the championship leaders. So I think we are in for a barnstorming couple of final rounds to round off what has been a brilliant season for the IMB World Series Leagues GT3 EU. Not entirely sure as to how the US guys are getting on, but I'm sure an equally fun season on their end, and with how competitive this season has been. And unfortunately, we have had a couple of dips in entries and things like that, but the core championship fights themselves have stayed consistent all the way through, and it's been such an exciting prospect, and this has been such a good precedent to that. The entire season up till now has been such a good precedent for the final 2, where it all comes down to the wire.
Now, Sembram Ruler could be in a bit of trouble here, because lap 35 is what Stuart Reynolds is currently on, and if we do 37 laps, then he will have not completed 50%, excuse me, and will not get points for this second race, which could really ruin things for him here today. Let's not forget his drop score is also a 0. It's 0 points at the last round for Sven van Rooyen, meaning that that's his drop score, and he can no longer kind of use that as a safety net to bounce him back towards the championship, with Carl Pearce currently scoring 40 points. At the moment, he's 36 behind. He could be a championship leader by the end of this race. We'll wait and see on that, of course. Jan-Mats Moinen going to round off with a double podium by the looks of it, but Sven van Rooyen might be a little bit worried here that he can't get back out there again. He's completed 18 laps. Stuart Reynolds now on the 36th lap. And if this lap is not the last lap, then he's not going to score any points. And clearly with 3 minutes to go, it won't be the last lap.
Wow. Heartbreak for them, that is, yeah, not great. And his hopes would have been riding on that, but it's not the case. And it's going to be, once again, a very difficult affair for Sven van Rooyen, whose championship looks so good. It was on the rise for the first half of the season. The wheel issues hit. Maybe the pressure's starting to get to him. I know he's here, obviously, is a bit of fun and competition and blah, 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 blah. But you always want to win the championship. And what has seemed like such a home run for Sven van Rooyen through the entire season up until now has now actually flipped on its head, and we could see him under pressure if those same issues occur over the course of Daytona and Sebring. Hopefully we can take a word with him and see if he's confident for Daytona and Sebring, if his pace is good, if he's able to score those points. But with each round and each race that goes by, each point lost for Sven van Rooyen, it looks just that little bit more worrying for the Dutchman.
It certainly does. Want to give a shout out here to Conor Kinnard here for his efforts in his opening round, his debut round of this series. Fantastic to see him out there in 4th place. He was on the podium for quite some time as well. And I've got to say here, Zach, it's not an easy series to get used to here in this the IMB World Series League's GT3 Championship. Didn't do the first race of the evening, so started the reverse grid from the back. Now up to 4th place. He's survived the chaos at Long Beach, which is an achievement within itself. I think it's worth giving him a mention here, because what a great job he's done today, and it looks like he's going to get to the finish with a very respectable result.
Absolutely. Getting to the finish, chances are, is going to give you a respectable result. Let's not be beat around the bush with that one. If you can get to the end, he's going to score some good points. That's been the name of the game. Those that haven't, if they've completed less than half distance, they're not going to get any. And it's part of the challenge, and while it's not always great, it's taking limo. It takes a little bit of a scrub to the wall. Not going to damage him too much, but white flag is out. Final lap for Stuart Reynolds. He's been flying, and this is last lap, his last way around to take a double victory here at Long Beach. But yeah, while it's not always great, the survival type races don't always give us the most amount of excitement and action. From a driver's standpoint, it really does separate the good from the great in that regard, because if you can survive a race like this, you can almost do anything.
You certainly can. Stuart Reynolds is going to end today with the championship lead after a double race win at Long Beach. He's got 20 seconds over Hakan Lindmo. Sven van Rooyen, by the way, has exited the pit lane again and will score points, because this will be his 19th lap complete here. Stuart Reynolds is on his 38th at the moment. That's exactly 50%. Sven van Rooyen has scored points for 7th place, and so he'll only lose 10 to Carl Pearce. His championship advantage will be 26. We'll get into that a little bit more at the end of the race, because Stuart Reynolds is having his crowning moment here at Long Beach. It's been so much about survival here this evening. So many drivers falling by the wayside. Only 2 pro drivers scoring points and finishing here today in the feature race. And those 3 were out for very, very early on. He hasn't had much competition in this one. It's been all Stuart Reynolds. He'll come through the final corner for a double win at Long Beach in the IMB World Series League's GT3 Championship at Long Beach. A fantastic drive from him to finish in front of Hakan Lindmo, who will be second. Just behind, Carl Pearce is going to come across the line. The AM leader 1 lap down, but race winner again here in this series. Just ahead of the 2nd place overall driver, Hakan Lindmo. Just around 25 seconds further back than that will be the Pro-Am winner, as Jan-Mats Moinen makes his way out the final corner for a double podium in AMD here today. That's 2nd place for him. And here's Ashraf El-Haddad. Haven't seen much of him all season, really. but it's going to be a race win here at Long Beach. Just under 3 seconds to Luis Boubier, who takes a big step forward in this championship. But Ashraf El Haddad wins the race ahead of Boubier in what was the most attritional of the season.
Wow, what a race. Luis Boubier, second place, first and second. Championship leads, can't ask for more. Francois Peugeot has had his issues, but he'll come home in fourth for the Delta V Racing team. And well, that's a race that I definitely wouldn't want it to be a part of, let's put it that way. But 3 very deserving winners and a spicy championship for the last 2 rounds. Let's bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very much looking forward to it here this afternoon. This afternoon, indeed, a little bit later on in the weeks to come. It should be a good one. Let's have a look at the race results before we get into some interviews before signing off here this evening. Stuart Reynolds, winner by 21 seconds ahead of Hacken Lindmo, Kai Dio, Harry Wills and Taylor Lane, all DNFs from very early on in this race. Pro-Am was possibly the most competitive, certainly the smallest winning margin. Just under 3 seconds between Ashraf El Haddad and Luis Boubier. Marcel Breitenbach held on to a podium ahead of Francois Peugeot. Timothy van der Broek just 1 lap down ahead of Ivo van der Linden, who ends up losing 6 points on the day to Luis Boubier. Julian Breitenbach didn't get to the line, but will score points, as will Simon Dodd. Thomas Pugh and Dean Timms will not. Dean Timms never actually taking the green flag. In the AM driver standings, it's Carl Pearce who takes the win. He'll be very pleased indeed with that. Just under 20 seconds ahead of Yamas Astamon and Kurt van Hohenacker joining them on the podium. Conor Kinnard in his first appearance in 4th place of Euro Reigns, who will score points. So will Tony van der Linden. So will Sam Van Ruler, crucially, to hold on to his championship lead. Well, let's have a look down the standings then. Joined by, Carl Pearce. We're doing it in a slightly wonky order, it seems. Carl Pearce joining us from the AM category. Welcome, Carl. Good to have you with us, and a race win as well here at Long Beach. Yes, hello again. It's been not very long, but about an hour. But how was that race for you? It was pure survival from what we could see. What was it like from your perspective?
It definitely was pure survival, really. It's a lot of it was questioning is what my tyres are going to be like. I really should have put enough practice into trying to get some data about the tyres, and I was really debating whether to change the fronts or the rears or all 4, really. When it got to the pit window and stuff, it was it felt absolutely fine, and but I already picked all 4 tyres, and I quickly checked while I was in the pits. Obviously, it was already started to change the front left, so I ended up changing from both fronts and left the rears. But it's believe it or not, it's a solid track. I really quite like it. It's very technical. You've got to make things. You've got to do it absolutely right. But yeah, fantastic. It was. I think I got incredibly lucky. There was a few spins and stuff like that with the other drivers, but yeah, just stay out of trouble and managed to get the win.
Absolutely. And what does this mean for the championship now? I think by my calculations you'll be 26 points behind Sam Van Ruler, who did just about complete 50% of that race. Do you think you'll be able to catch him, or what's the aim for the final part of the season?
So I think if I remember correctly, the next round is Daytona. So yeah, absolutely love that track. I've done plenty of 24-hour races and that, and I feel pretty quick on that track as well. So yeah, bring it on, Sam. I'm definitely gonna chase after you and get you for sure.
We're looking forward to it. Carl, congratulations on the win, and
Thank you
for joining us.
Much appreciated. Take care.
Thanks very much. Carl Pearce, winner in the AM standings. Let's go up to Pro-Am, since we'll work our way up here today. Ashraf El Haddad's not here, so we can't do that. Let's go straight up to Pro then, shall we? An overall race winner. And joined by Stuart Reynolds now. Stuart, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. Double race win here tonight for you at Long Beach. Just what was the key to you just clicking around this circuit, it seems, more than anyone else?
Just keep going, because nobody had turned up, so I thought I'd try and get as many points as possible. So.
Yeah, it worked. I guess that part of the deal worked out for you. Chris Chatterton obviously had a drop round that wasn't so bad, so you did gain some points and will gain the championship lead as well. But it's certainly not over just yet. How are you feeling going into the final 2 rounds?
Those Nomad boys are quick when they've got the right setup. I think that's partly why nobody wanted to do Long Beach today, is because it's a horrible track for the Mercedes. So I think they'll be very quick round Sebring and Daytona.
Quite possibly. Stuart, congratulations on the win in both races tonight, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Stuart Reynolds there from Pro. He finishing ahead of Hakim Lima. We haven't got any more Pro drivers, so we will go down to Pro-Am now, and Lewis Bouvier, who was second on the day. Lewis, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. Second place in the second race of the night. How did you pick your way through that one in the end?
Well, I just stayed off the back of everyone. I had no intention of overtaking. I was going to save fuel as much as I can and then go for a bit of an overcut on the people in front of me. Hopefully I gain a few seconds that way in a couple of positions. But just every few laps, someone would spin out or there'd be an incident and I'd just get through. Eventually I found myself wound up in second place, about 6-7 seconds off Akraf, and then once the pit stops planned out, and I just started hunting him down, but just not enough laps. But it was a good race, and just being clean and staying slow, helped me survive that.
You have gained some more points on Ivo van der Linden. You're now 16 in front. Do you think you'll be able to hang on to that over the final 2 rounds?
We'll see what happens in Daytona. I didn't have a great Daytona last year, but with Sebring, I'm quite good at Sebring, and being an endurance race, hopefully I can qualify well and not have to battle for position. So that's my hope. So I got a bit of breathing room now, which is something nice to play with. I can have a bad result and still finish and get points and still be in the battle. So I'm very happy.
As you should be. Lewis, congratulations on results tonight, and thanks for joining us.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Lewis Bouvier there from Pro-Am. Let's go down to Am now, where lots of drivers are waiting to join us. Let's start with Connor Kinnaird, who's with us now. Connor, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. On your debut in this series, how did you find the evening overall?
It was honestly, I obviously noticed on the first race, I unfortunately had the mistake of having bad internet. I can't really say that's my fault, but got disconnected on the first race, sadly. But the second, I joined the second, fighting for any championship contention, so I thought I'd just jump in, have a bit of fun, maybe get a bit of practice in for maybe next season.
Absolutely, and have a bit of fun. Hopefully you did. Very attritional race here at Long Beach, I think it's fair to say. What are you expecting from Daytona from yourself as you kind of get used to this series?
Well, personally, I like Daytona as a track. I can't say I've had a lot of practice on it, but I just enjoy it. It's just, it's fast, it's sweeping. You've got the bus stop where everyone likes to take themselves off track a little bit. But we're looking forward to the series. This being my first race in this one, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to more.
Well, we're looking forward to having you back. Connor, congratulations on your first evening in the series, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Connor Kinnaird there joining us from 4th place in race 2. Jeroen Reigns was in 5th, who also joins us now. Welcome to the booth, Jeroen. Good to have you here. Ending up having a 7-minute stop in the middle of that race, but I can't quite remember what happened. Can you just tell us what happened from your perspective?
Yeah, I just kind of went a bit wide on a corner. I don't know what corner it is. I think it's the second corner after the water fountain. I got a little bit too wide, got a bit understeer, and just hit the wall. And then got a black and orange. Had to go to the pits for 7 minutes or something. And but still finished the race in 5th. Quite happy, ahead of Sam Van Ruler, which is good.
Yes, you did gain some points on Sam Van Ruler, the gap coming down a little bit. How do you feel about Sebring and Daytona, and in terms of how good those circuits are for you? And do you think you'll be able to catch Sam Van Ruler and also Carl Pearce as well, who's ahead of you in the championship now?
Yeah, it's a very close fight as well with Carl now. Daytona, pretty good race pretty good track for me. It's one of my favorite tracks. I'm quite fast on it. Sebring, I'm not super fast, but it's really consistent track for me. So I think I will be able to catch up, or at least be very close to them.
Well, we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks very much for joining us, Jeroen, and well done on today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks very much. Your own Reigns joining us there. Finishing just ahead of Sem Van Ruler, who was 7th in the AM category, but joins us now. Sem, welcome to the booth as well. Good to have you here. A troublesome race for you, I think it's fair to say. 2 pit stops in the end. More than 10 minutes on both of them. You just about picked up enough laps to score points in that one as well. I think I know what you're going to say, but how did that race go for you? Oh, we can't hear Sem Van Ruler at the moment. We can hear him talking. Oh, he's gone. I'm not sure why. We'll see. He might. I don't know what went on there. I could see him talking, and he just disappeared from the face of the earth. So I'm not sure what's gone on there. Especially, looks like he's moved his camera angle as well.
Probably ate his microphone.
Based. I don't know what's. I don't know what to tell you. There, other than that, we might not be able to speak to Sem Van Ruler. But either way, Zach, your final thoughts on this round as a whole? It was always going to be the most attritional, but I think this it provided even more carnage than maybe even we were expecting.
Absolutely. That exceeded expectations, and the expectations were high. Well, low. I don't know. Which way is it? High we were expecting chaos and carnage, let's put it that way. It was difficult, and it was a mountain to climb, and as we've come to expect, with these guys, most of them do power through, and some of them did power through really, really well. And for those that did, it means a lot in terms of their championship. But for others, with not so much on the line, it was just a bit of a write-off day for them, unfortunately. But which was the closing stage of the season. So as sad as I am to see it end, I'm happy to see it conclude in terms of the championship fight.
Yeah. Will be exciting. We will be able to chat to Sem Van Ruler. We've been able to get those things sorted out, smoothed over. Sem, welcome to the booth finally. Good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about how your second race went.
Okay, so it went terrible. I had 2 meatballs in a 50-minute race, but I did have a lot of fun somehow. The start was really fun. I got Jeroen on the move I did on Jeroen was it was good fun. It was good fighting, and eventually with Tony as well. And then I was just P1 and I was running away, and I made the stupidest mistake ever. And I also then crashed with the pro leader because I was standing on the exit of a blind turn, and he just obviously he saw me too late, and then we hit each other. Not the best race. Then I went out, and then I hit the wall again and got another meatball flag. But for the rest, it was a very fun race.
Yeah, it's there was a lot going on within it, certainly. There's no doubt about that. I mean, what do you think about the final point of this season now? 2 rounds to go, no drop rounds counting anymore. It's an all-out fight between you, Carl, and your own as well. How do you think it's going to go?
Well, one, I need to pray that my wheel keeps up, because these 2 races, it did have some issues, but luckily it happened all the times that my wheel locked up. It happened on the straight, so I got lucky. These next 2 races, if I haven't found a fix, I just need to do some more praying, and just hope the Porsche will be good in these tracks, because obviously Daytona is straight line speed. Porsche is not a big fan of that, so but we'll see, and then just focus on these next 2 races. We still have a decent point lead. It's somewhere in, I'm pretty sure it's 29 right now. They haven't updated it yet, but just so it's not that bad. I can afford some losses, but I just hope I can finish these next 2 races, and then it will be all okay.
Yeah, I think by my calculations you'll have 26 points, but we'll see. It'll be somewhere around there. Sam, thanks for chatting to us once again, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much. Sem Van Ruler there from the AM category, AM Championship leader, indeed. Well, that's just about going to do it for us here this evening from Long Beach. A big thank you to everyone who's been watching here this evening. We'll be back in 1 week's time at Daytona for the final Race 1 and Race 2 format events here this evening, and then before the finale, the endurance round at Sebring to come in a couple of weeks as well. Make sure you stay tuned though, because in a few hours time the US version of this championship will be getting underway, so make sure you stick around for that. But whether it is for that or indeed in 1 week's time, I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Zach Sweeney here this evening, and until we see you next week, it's goodbye for now.